your views. So you are here with me, Ice White from Game Global. We have Marcus Wolf from Ultimate Man Project, Sam Overton from Fluid Social, Justin Mark, Alex from Playing with Fire, Denton Fisher, who is Charisma King. All of us run YouTube channels. We are, I guess it's fair to say we're all dating coaches, but maybe you have your own uh, label to attach to yourself. But today is a great opportunity to discuss various things about life, relationships, marriage, dating. And because there are six of us here right now, possibly one or two coming in a little bit later if they can join us, it's a great opportunity to get perspectives from experts, from established people in this field. And there might be some different perspectives. That's okay. Everything's valid. But it's a great opportunity to deal with things such as how important certain things are in your life. So we'll get onto that a little bit later. But the first thing I want to open up with, which might be a little bit dark, but late 2021, at the end of December 2021, Tom Torero died. He had a hit piece written about him by Newsweek. And since then, nothing has really been done to. It's very sad that he committed suicide, or so. This is what the record, not the records, but this is what it has. This is how it has been described. And it's very sad that this has happened because that could have been any of us. It could have been someone we know. Suicide in men is extremely serious. So, did any of you guys know Tom Torero?
Not personally.
Not personally, but yeah, it's just a shame that there has been no kind of accountability that has come forward. So, yeah, dark place to start, but there you go. Maybe it's best if we move on from that one, but just something to think about.
Well,
Uh,
this happens all the time. There's like a journalist does a hit piece. It's not even about someone in the dating community, just any community. They commit suicide sometimes because they don't like the outcome. I mean, it's not like Tom Torero isn't the first and he won't be the last that's gonna be at the victim of having declining mental health as a result of negative publicity.
Hmm. How many of you guys have had negative publicity in the form of not YouTube comments specifically, but in newspapers, mainstream
Yeah.
media's articles, something like that? So
I have a,
Justin,
Yeah, no, it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad, dude, and it definitely fucked with my mental health for sure.
What
And
happened to you, Joss?
well, I was in Latin America, I was in Mexico, and they decided to cancel me and Bradicus for
oh yeah, I remember.
Oh
absolutely
shit, you were
fucking
with Brad.
annihilated. And the crazy part is not a single journalist or news person hit us up to verify anything. There's no checks and balances. There's no verification process. They're just like, oh, let's take information off their public profiles and just run a narrative. And when I say it just gets crazy, they just make up shit out of thin air. They just make up random fugazi stories that don't exist out of nowhere. It's fucking insane, dude. And because it's in the news, people assume there must be some accredited journalism or some verification process for all this information. But no, you can get a job in an organization, in the news, in the media, and you can just make shit up. Pretty fucking insane.
Dude,
It's
so how
almost
did you
like
come out
it's
so
like
much better than Bradicus? Because it seems like that didn't actually have much detrimental long-term effect on your
it
career
definitely did
trajectory,
in the
but for
short term. In the short term, it fucked me up, dude. A lot.
mm,
It took a lot to bounce back from that. I think a lot of people don't make it out. I only got half canceled, so it was interesting because I was able to. I kind of just motivated myself to work harder and just stick at it long term and kind of re-strategize the way I do my content and almost distance myself from the dating coach brand. So if you look at a lot of my Instagram stuff, it seems very lifestyle based, So it was very interesting. It definitely was a life-changing experience to say the least, right? It's pretty crazy.
what would you say your biggest lesson was in that? The greatest thing you learned? Obviously, that was very hard.
I think the biggest thing was just to literally ignore it and don't give a fuck about what anyone says, right? And I think in the pickup community, or being a content creator in general, because I have a lot of influencer friends, I mean, you'll get a lot of just flack and negative feedback, right? But it's hard to just ignore shit, right? It's hard to really ignore the noise. Imagine having like millions of people blowing up your phone, death threats, people like trying to post where you live, just like saying they want to fucking kill you, shit like that. It's hard for that not to affect you mentally, but you just have to kind of not care. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
You know, obviously protect yourself any way you can. So we were like moving Airbnbs, switching countries, bro. I was bouncing like different countries, right? But you just have to let it not affect you at all, right? And
Yeah.
it did affect me. Definitely did affect me. It affected the relationship with the girl I was dating at the time. It affected the business. It affected the income. It affected my mental health. It affected me for like fucking a year or two, straight up. But I didn't allow it to stop. I think a lot of guys make the mistake where they go through this thing and the court of public opinion definitely fucks with their mental health. I just didn't allow it to. You know, I knew who I was and maintained whatever values I had. And I just didn't allow it to really affect me as much as I think others would be affected by it.
Mhm. It all happens so quickly, so it's like um when it happens within minutes, within hours, you get this
Yeah.
surge, and you might think, oh my God, how am I supposed to survive the next few hours, the next few days? You don't know how long it's gonna last.
Oh, yeah.
But you had to like switch countries too. So it's like you were definitely thinking it was some kind of long-term implication.
It was. No, it was actually like a smear campaign by a feminist congresswoman in Mexico. So it was like a planned, premeditated attack that didn't just last. It didn't even last. It did last months. It lasted months. It was like 2 months media cycles, and then even like 6 months later, they kind of like revived the story. But I just stopped giving a fuck by that time. So it's like it's crazy. I'm in like news in the countries I've never been to. You know, it was pretty insane, right?
What
But
other countries did it move to? Because this you're in Brazil, right? Or where were you?
but this was in Mexico. It ended
Oh,
up
Mexico,
moving
sorry.
to France, Spain, and all over Latin America. So pretty much all South America. And then with Bradicus, it ended up leading him into Brazil as well, but not me. So
Because I can't remember exactly, but I only saw the Bradicus stuff. I didn't see any of the things that you got
so
involved
they were
with. But,
it was mostly based around him, but then they started looping me into it, calling me his accomplice and stuff like that.
Guilty
okay,
by
so you got like
association kind of
okay.
Exactly.
thing.
Because I
Exactly.
mean, some of the messages were they just made up, or because otherwise some of the messages did look a bit questionable, right?
Well, look, I was on the ground seeing it with Brad and seeing what was happening in real time. And it was a campaign to fucking destroy him. Like they were actually like trying to pay girls to fucking denounce him on the media. Right. They were trying, dude, they hit up every single one of my ex-girlfriends. They hit up my ex-girlfriend from Australia. They hit up my ex-girlfriends from like fucking Europe. And they were offering them cash. Not even, it wasn't a lot of money too. It was like a couple $1,000s or whatever to just shit talk. And they didn't
Oh,
do
offering
it.
thousands of dollars.
Thousands of dollars to shit talk. Cause like these girls
They're doing this to Andrew Tate.
yeah, I know. So I saw
Yeah, but Andrew Tate's
happened.
Andrew Tate. Like, I'm surprised these fucking Mexican newspapers have thousands of dollars to offer people.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
like
surprising to me. They're
$2,000
offering
Mexico's
thousands of
a year.
dollars to
country.
multiple women.
Mexico's
Yeah,
That's
we'll give you 50
top
pesos if you.
No, dude, Mexico's a pretty rich country. It's just the money just ends up settling at the top, right? It doesn't get spread out properly, right? So
You guys must have banged like some cartel leader's girlfriend or something that they were like offering
But
that money.
yeah, I was gonna say who's running this? Because if it is a government, they could just exploit you, right? Like they can just tell you to get the fuck out.
it literally was Mexican government. It was I'm not gonna
Why
say
don't
the
they
name
just
of the
get you to
politician.
leave?
Oh, dude, we fucking left. They absolutely did. Like that was the whole point. The whole point
But
was
I'm
like,
saying without running like a campaign, could they just not rock up to your place and be like, you need to get the fuck out?
not really. I don't think they could because it's a congresswoman. It's like a
Surely.
feminist congresswoman, right? And it's like it's a kind of a different society there. It's a different way of you can just dude. We end up having to pay off the fucking Mexican government.
That's what I'm saying. They're dodgy as fuck. If they wanted you
We ended
out,
up,
like
dude, Brad
surely they
ended
could
up
just
paying the
rock up
Mexican
at your
government
place.
like 10 grand to just like stop putting in the media. That's actually what happened. Found
It might also be that the incentives to like denounce you online are actually greater than to kick you out. Because if they kick you out, it's like job done. There's no media flare up. There's no story there. But if they actually denounce you publicly, then they can milk you for the content, right?
It was during COVID, right? So the media cycle had been slow. And imagine the thought of like this crazy Australian guy. And dude, Brad was tearing it up. Like he fucked over 100 women. while we were in Mexico in like 6 months, right? I just had a girlfriend most of the time, right? And so it's not like we were doing anything criminal or illegal because we had other people with us. David Bond was with us. My buddy Chris, who's a buddy of mine from Toronto, was staying in Airbnb. He didn't end up in any media bullshit, right? He was with us the entire time. So how does that make sense? How does it make sense? Like two of us in the media, well, the one other guy who was like living with us doesn't end up in the media, right? So there's no like verification.
I mean, to be fair, I don't know enough of the story, right? So obviously we all know, right? As soon as anything if our content gets in the media, it's really easy to misinterpret, right? Really easy. And so you have to be extra careful. And I think like some of the messages I saw from like, not you, but from Brad, looked bad. It was like, I remember seeing one where he like messages go like 10 times in a row or something, unless I was like fudged up. But I think like you got to be super careful with deception.
But we created like a system to like mass text girls. But from the girl side, it doesn't look like they're getting a mass text. It's not like a group chat. It just looks like they're getting an individual text. So unless
like 10 in a row.
This number. Yeah. So again, like imagine creating an email list that goes and you send an email, goes out to like thousands of people, right? But we did that with texting girls. So it's essentially we created like an email list because again, it was COVID lockdowns and Latin women tend to be very flaky. So it's COVID lockdown, stay-at-home orders in Mexico. And Latin women are flaky. So how do you combat flakiness is with volume. So we essentially create.
Well, I think to be fair, I think they're going to be flaky if you're sending out like email lists to them. I think if you message them one-on-one, they're not like. I think American women are probably more.
But again, it was the beginning of COVID. So this is like March 2020 to August 2020. Heavy stay-at-home orders, right? You'd literally have to. Okay. It was pretty extreme. It was pretty extreme, and the strategy to get the girls out was like mass texting. Right? It was like the only thing that was working at the time. And
I get it.
Text messages to thousands of girls. Like just send one text message, goes out to thousands of chicks. So yeah, like of course in the media.
Well, you got thousands of girls now getting hit up like 10 times. So if you're a girl sitting there and you're like, this guy messaged me 7 times, and they're like, yeah, I'm on the 9th
Brad
message.
had like he had 3 Tinder accounts. He's running Instagram ads. He has like 2 Bumble accounts, and he's sending mass text messages to thousands of chicks. So it definitely generates some media attention.
You're asking for news. I mean, look, if this is like my sister and her friends, and they're like, yo, some guy from another country, like, just imagine, like, we're in Australia or something. They're like, yo, some like fucking European guy is just blowing up all our Instagrams, right? This is the 10th message he's fucking sent me. And the other girl's like, yeah, happened to me. And then I speak to other friends, and my girlfriend's like, yeah, happened to me. And then my ex is like, yeah, this guy's message. You're asking for attention, right? I'm not saying that it's fair all this happened. I'm saying like they definitely should have hit him up and asked for his side of the story. But like, I think you just got to be careful when you're sending like mass messages to everyone, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure how it was like how they proceeded with the system, but I understand. I also remember like seeing some screenshots. Maybe I don't know how it worked, but maybe there was overlap. So if he used multiple Tinder accounts and got phone numbers, and then you get some of the same phone numbers, maybe the messages went repeatedly because these free Tinder accounts also overlapped, something like that. So that could have been one of the mistakes.
So the narrative they ran with Brad was that he was a stalker. Okay, so that was the narrative. It was like, oh my God, this guy's a stalker. He's showing up. He's like stalking me digitally, showing up on every dating app. He's stalking me on Bumble. He's popping on my Instagram ads. But the thing is, none of it was targeted. It was just very general. And in a city, Mexico City is over 20 million people, right? It's very easy to generate that attention, especially people are bored at home during COVID. There's nothing going on. Stay-at-home orders. People aren't working. So it was a perfect storm for fucking media.
Yeah, I mean, once again, though, would you not feel digitally stalked? Like if I have someone, like anyone, like imagine I have a girl, right? And I get messaged on my Tinder, my Bumble, my Hinge. Then she hits me up on Instagram a bunch of times. Like obviously I wouldn't give a fuck, but I can see how a lot of people would feel digitally stalked, being like, yo, this guy's just him everywhere.
Girls are swiping right. You know, they're seeing him.
Yeah, but you don't consent to like everything getting blown up when you swipe right, right? I think like
I think what
happened to him was probably wrong, but I think he's got to kind of admit that. Okay, I probably shouldn't have like done all that.
Bro, he definitely had to take responsibility for it and realize the system worked too well. Like the system that he created worked too well, and that was the problem. It was like too effective of like hitting reach, right? That to the point where it's like he couldn't even manage the leads, right?
I'm surprised anyone in Mexico gives a shit about that. Like in Mexico, They fucking got people getting beheaded and shit. It's like some dude is like too horny trying to bust a nut. Like, I don't know. Something about that whole thing. I feel like there's got to be a personal angle where one of the girls that
Oh,
one of you just fucked
100%.
just had it out for you, or there's
So,
a
so
jerk.
at the end of the day, what it was it was like chatter on social media and this Mexican because what was happening during that time frame was there's a lot of like feminist protests and that kind of thing. If you think about like the Me Too movement, that was starting to happen in Mexico, but it was different. Like the
Yo
whole
también movement.
the reason that was happening in Mexico was because they were upset about like the cartel killing women. So it was like violence against women's wrong. So that was kind of the narrative, right? And so Brad kind of just got looped into that narrative, right? And I kind of got dragged in it just for fucking living with him, which is insane. And the fact that I do content on social media.
You guys should have
Yo, do you
come out and did a collab with El Chapo. That would have been a good fitting way to end the story.
Well, Bradicus, I remember that one video of Bradicus. He had a way of pissing people off, and I don't think it was necessarily his fault. He did sometimes do some wild shit, but didn't he have like a video that had 1 million views and had like what, like 10% up thumbs and 90% down thumbs? I think honestly, it's a bit of it is he doesn't look like the guy's supposed to be good with girls, so I think society doesn't really like that shit.
That was a huge thing too, right? He's in good shape now. He's doing really well. But dude, he was fucking fat, overweight, just did not look like a good looking guy. It didn't make sense that he'd be successful with women. So he definitely pissed a lot of people off.
Bradicus was one of the most annoying people to collab with. I did one podcast with him. Never again. He like during the podcast, he's like texting the whole time. He's like, "Yo, shit, this chick is outside." I'm like, dude, we're 20 minutes in. He's like, "Okay, so like, I'll just have her walk around a little bit." I'm like, "Yo, are we gonna do a podcast? Or are you gonna like just fucking text this girl?" Yeah, he's like super duper like he just wants to bust a nut. I mean,
he's very uncalibrated. Very uncalibrated. Like
his whole thing
I remember
is
he got into
a bunch of girls. Yeah.
True.
Okay, I think it's time to move on then. Let's get to some other things. Who here believes in looks, money, status? So anyone
believe in like to what degree that they exist, that they matter, how much do they matter? Like I think everyone agrees that looks, money, and status exist. Like what's the underlying question?
Well, okay, so to where do you stand on the looks thing? Let's start with that.
I think
let's break it down one by one.
It's your foot in the door, but that's about it.
Fair enough.
I think looks matter, obviously, but they're not the end all be all. I mean, I think the better looking you are, the less work you'll have to do, less volume you'll have to run, generally speaking. But you can't really change your looks more than 1 or 2 points, right? You can go from being a 5 to being a 7, but you can't go from being a 5 to being a 10 without like massive amounts of like plastic surgery. They'll probably destroy your health. But you can change your game like pretty much any amount unless you have some kind of disease, like you're like I don't know, you have like palsy or something like that. So you can go from having 5 game to having 9 or 10 game. So yeah, I mean, obviously the people who are born better looking have an advantage in life, but I've done enough like transformation videos of guys who are like either 5'3" or dudes who are like, I had one dude who had cerebral palsy. This dude literally couldn't talk. He was able to get a girlfriend on Tinder, and like we documented that whole thing. So yeah, I mean, I think that people use the looks thing as an excuse to cope and like jerk off to various chats on the internet. But at the end of the day, you know, most people are average. Like it comes down to that. Like the really good looking guys and really ugly guys are anomalies. Most people on the internet who are watching this content, they're average. They're slightly above average. Maybe they're slightly below average. And anyone who's in the average territory can succeed. So I kind of went another end, but yeah, that's basically my thoughts.
I agree.
I like what you said. So basically, yes, you can do a little something with that, but it's better to focus on your actual game, your personality.
Well, no, I would do both. Like I would improve your social market value as much as reasonably possible without doing surgeries, while at the same time focusing on game.
Mm-hmm. Does anyone disagree with that? Are we all on the same page there?
No, I think there's always a middle ground, right? Like it was very well said. I think you tend to find people go one extreme or the other, right? So it seems like everyone's fucking normal here, which is awesome. But I feel like you either get coaches that are like, looks don't matter whatsoever, don't care about it, blah, blah, or you get like black pill guys that are like, looks are the only thing that matter. And they have this very like nihilistic attitude. And there's even studies on this, right? Incels always overpredict how much looks actually matter to women, right? So as Alex said, as long as you meet like a certain threshold, and even then women are going to have types. So even if you're like a fat chubby guy, look, there's girls that are into fat chubby guys, right? So But I think you need to, number one, fix your SMV as much as you can, because it will give you that initial attraction. And then game is going to be how to create more attraction, what to do that attraction, how to actually get the girl home, how to create like a good relationship, all the rest of it, right? Like looks is just that initial thing that might get you some attraction. So yes, it's important, but I think the focus should be on what you could change. So if you can change your looks, change it. Once you reach that threshold and you can't, then focus on everything else you can change.
One interesting thing I noticed is that like the guys who complain about like looks and not being good looking enough have almost never looks max. They're almost always disheveled. Their clothes don't fit them. They haven't gotten a haircut in 2 months. Their beard is a mess. You can just tell, even though you can't see them, you can tell they smell like shit. Like they're just like not in good shape. They're either skinny, they're skinny fat. They're like, they just don't have any muscle. So I've never really seen a guy who's like looks max completely, like someone who's jacked, who has good style, complaining about looks. I don't know. I've never seen that happen. It's always guys.
I think a lot of it's just age. It's like a lot of these guys are just fucking young, so they just don't know. So they hear some guy talking about it online, they buy that narrative completely, and what happens in 5 or 10 years time is they start to go out into the world and they're not actually that ugly, as you said. They're kind of normal, and women maybe like 27, 28 years old are going to start to look at them. But in the youngest generation, when you're like 16, 17, 18, chicks are more focused on looks than they will be in the future. And so a lot of these guys, I think their black pill incel problem will be solved by age. When they're older, they're just not going to face the same problems that they think they face now.
One interesting thing I've noticed actually from doing a lot of like the street interviews that I've been doing on my channel is there's a massive difference between what the manosphere people, the people who spend all day on the internet, and like what people in real life do and like how it happens. And I think that like a lot of these black pillars, they don't actually interact with people in real life. They spend their whole day on the internet, and that's what they think reality is like. But when I started doing like street interviews, talking to people who have no idea what the fuck the manosphere is, they don't know what the red pill is, they've never heard of any of this stuff. You'll see a lot of situations where the guy's like very average looking, walking around with a pretty attractive girl, and then you'll be like, hey, how do you guys meet? Like, oh yeah, we were at a party, or oh yeah, I saw her at a bar and came up and I said hi to her. And then you'll see a lot of counterintuitive situations like, yeah, we were friends for like a year and then we started dating, which like in the manosphere everyone would say like, oh no, you can't, once your friend zone, it's over. But like a lot of this stuff doesn't actually translate onto the real world in real world people. So I think that the ultimate solution for actually all these beliefs is for people to go out and do massive amounts of socialization, talking to people in real world, but that's not going to happen. So,
yeah, I think you made a good point, which is that it's not just men, it's women as well, right? The women that you see on these podcasts, the OnlyFans models, all of this stuff, that's not representative of just a normal girl in a small city.
Yeah. Sure.
Even in a big city, even in Miami, like the girls in Fresh and Fit are not the average girl that I see in Miami. It's just not. Those girls do exist, right? Obviously, but this like the average girl doesn't know what the red pill is. The average girl has like somewhat of a job. She doesn't care about a guy having like a Lamborghini, whatever. It's like a massive sample bias with girls who go on these red pill podcasts. Like think about, why would a girl who like works as a nurse who doesn't really have like any kind of Instagram thing going, want to go on like a red pill podcast where they're going to make fun of her for 2 hours? Like there's no incentive for her. It's only girls who need clout who go on these podcasts.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm gonna throw my 2 cents in here. I do think that looks matter, but I think that there's nobody that cannot get the results that they want with proper effort. So it's a little bit of a weird thing with me. I've seen guys, the way they move and speak, and there's a way that you can move and speak and think that I've seen that has universally worked for every guy I think I've seen that has done this type of interaction. I don't think there's anybody out there that can't get results with women. I hate that this is used as an excuse sometimes. I don't think that anybody's looks is ever going to stop them from getting what they want if they're willing to put in proper effort to get to that result.
And that's why you're the charisma king, because you picked your brand, I guess, your brand name to really emphasize personality is important.
The charisma king moniker, I think the name I chose, it's a little bit egotistical. I'd actually probably change it now, but I think the charisma is a huge factor. I think it's a lot to show status. I think women care most about status, and not status of things, but status of movement, status of mindset, status of personality. I think that matters quite a bit.
Yeah, at the end of the day, women care more about how you make them feel, right? So again, I'm 5'4". Like I've met like I'd say most of you guys, half of you guys in person, and I mean like I'm a tiny little fucking Indian dude, right? But a lot of the girls I date, 5'8", 5'9", like significantly taller than me. It's never even been an issue. It's never been something I even think about. But women are subject to their emotions, and they really care about the way you make them feel, right? They're almost like little narcissists, right? So if you make them feel good emotions, it doesn't really matter how you look. So looks will definitely get you in the door, but the way you make them feel is what kind of seduces them, keeps them, right? So that's what's most important.
Justin, random question for you. How much of your YouTube audience comes from India?
A lot, like 40. Actually, it's less than it used to be. Probably like 20, 30%. And then
Dude, for me, my recent growth has been like largely coming from India. It's
Yeah.
I don't know why, but yeah.
I know why. It's because India has like cheap internet, and it's a population of 1.3 billion people, and China doesn't have access to YouTube. So because that's
But
specific,
they only watch a very specific type of video. Can you guess what?
Me too, dude. Me
It's
too.
it's the demonstration videos where I'm like making out, showing how to make it.
got
So
it.
I think it's
Hey, listen, they do
I think they're-
tutorials. This is what they look for.
I think they're beating off to this shit. Like that's what I'm
for
trying to
sure.
say. I think
No,
there's
for
like
sure.
Alex,
epidemic
how
of
many
Indian people
Indian men-
beating off to playing with fire.
Oh, yeah. You know,
I think
it
you could
sometimes.
get more views from India if you just had tutorial video how to do this very specific thing, and you have like your Indian accent. You're on Windows 10 and you just screen share it. That would get 1 billion views.
You get views, but it's not good for business. So I try to steer clear.
Yeah, they never buy shit.
No,
Yeah.
definitely not. No, if they buy shit, they just like refund it like 3 days.
Or they try to like
Yeah.
argue with you about the price. Like, okay,
They'll
so
try to jerk off to your
this
course.
costs 300. Can we do $15? Yeah. No, it costs like 300. Okay, fine. We'll do $17.
No, dude,
Let's move on to the
actually
money
can't,
thing.
oh,
Yeah,
No, I was just gonna say
I'll let
banned
you
buy
continue.
my
Yeah.
courses.
All right. Let's move on to the money thing. So, where does money come into games? So, obviously, let's say I meet a woman. She doesn't know how much money I have in my bank account. But with that being said, where does money come into game? Where does it come into dating? Obviously, it matters to some extent. Where's the line with this?
I think money is one of the most overrated things talked about in the red pill community. I think there's definitely an element of a threshold thing. So if you have to live with your parents and you don't have a car, you will be at a major disadvantage to a guy who has like his own place, who's like got good logistics in the car. But once you get to a certain threshold, which is generally middle class, you get extreme diminishing returns unless you're going for gold diggers. I've been poor, and I would say now I'm like top 2%, whatever income, and my dating success is exactly the same as it was because I'm not really leading with money. So you can have money play a big role if you start leading with your wallet, but then again, you're getting gold diggers, which probably is not something most guys want. But yeah, it's like you can be. I would say I was fucking way more girls when I was poor because I had more time because I wasn't running a business.
Oh.
Honestly, that's the truth of it. I was fucking way more girls, and yeah, it's just less time. You have more time on your hands. You don't have a business. You can fuck more girls. Yeah. So I think that it's highly, highly overrated, the idea that, but I do think money is good for other reasons, like in case you get sick or like so you can travel. So money has its own purpose, but I don't think it's for women. I think that the people who think that, oh, I need to make 6 figures before I can crush dating are living in a fantasy world.
Yeah, the only thing I would counter on that is like you mentioned there is a threshold which is like middle class, but as far as I can see, that threshold is lowered and lowered and lowered such that most people who would define themselves as middle class are actually probably too broke to like take a lot of girls out and like do a lot of the stuff that, you know, a lot of women would expect. I'm not saying they expect a lot, but I think that you mentioned the threshold, and I do think that is a big thing because there's so many fucking guys now that are just well below that threshold. So what do you think that threshold is? At which point, in terms of like dollar value, at which point it doesn't really matter?
I think it's pretty low. I think it's just like having a place that you can bring girls to. Yeah. Where you have decent logistics and you can afford transportation. You don't even have to have a car. You can just need to be able to afford like the train or something. But I think it's really like logistics. You don't have to do like any expensive shit on a date. What I used to do on a date was get tea and then I would pull girls or go to a bar, cheap bar, and get like one drink. A date can cost you like $20 and that's fine. If you set it up the right way, you coming from the right frame, that's fine for the majority of girls. So I think it's like if you're dead broke and you can't afford, like you have to live with your parents, that's going to be a massive disadvantage. But even when I was living with my parents, I was still getting laid. So, but yeah, it was a disadvantage. But I would say that if you have logistics, like you have a roommate or something like that, that's fine. And you're somewhere in this, you're somewhere in a good area where basically like when I say good, I don't mean like rich people. I mean like it's like in the center of things where you can walk to places. I think that's basically the threshold right there.
That was a
I want
very
to add on to that.
refreshing perspective. I liked it.
I want to add on to that. When I was broke, like my first few years in game, I was fucking broke. Like I lived 2 hours from the city center and I would sneak on public transit. I would get girls from the club to come back on public transit for like 2 hours in the middle of winter, sneak them to my mom's basement. My parents were super religious and then hook up with them and then like kind of kick them out at 6 a.m. Or I would hook up with the girls in like parks and alleyways, bathrooms of the club. Like it was fucking disgusting, dude. The shit we were doing, the place we were pulling girls. And it was really fucked up. Like I'll constantly hook up with my ex-girlfriend and like, if you guys know the Eaton Center, it's like this famous like mall that POAs used to go to do day game. I used to fuck girls on the roof of the Eaton Center. And it was just, I couldn't believe like how many girls were down for that. Now, a lot of women would be like, hey, I'm not down. I'm down to hook up with you as long as you have a place. So I like tested it. And I would say maybe 50% of the girls that you pull be down to hook up in public. So when I finally moved down, I got a place, city center, a good location. I probably hook up with around on average twice as many women. But what was interesting about that is you can still get laid and you can still have an insane fucking dating life. Even if you live with your parents in the middle of fucking nowhere or in the suburbs or you're broke. Cause I was fucking broke. Like I used to have to like steal from grocery stores and shit. And then when I finally got my own place, I had a 2-bedroom condo split with like 3 other dudes. So like 4 of us were sharing a 2-bedroom condo, sleeping in the living room. I'd be fucking bitches in the living room. Right.
Justin, here's the ultimate litmus test. Have you ever been kicked out of public transportation for sneaking on?
Think back to the day. This is dude, so long ago. I've
been kicked off multiple times.
Dude, I got arrested and detained for stealing a salad. I got like they tried to fine me for they tried to give me like a fine for sneaking on public transit, but I was like, I don't have any fucking money. Happened again. They tried to give me a fine, and I'm just like, nah. I just walked out. I just pieced out. Like, they're like, give me your ID.
2015, I was living in Koreatown in LA, like a really cheap area, and I was trying to get to Hollywood because that's where like all the whatever, like all the places are where we could pick up girls. And I didn't have like any money, so I would like sneak onto the train. And sometimes I would have to I would get caught and I have to like negotiate. They'd be like, okay, you have to pay $2. I'd be like, all right, listen, I have $1.25 in my pocket. How about I give you that? They're like, no, it's $2. I'd be like, listen. Let's make a deal right now. Like cutting all these like fucking back alley deals in order to get on a $2 train fee. Good times.
Crazy.
Yeah, I think
I really don't think money matters at all. I really don't think money has ever played an effect. And I have a lot of money now, dude. I'm really successful.
Oh, come on, Justin. You got to admit, there's this threshold thing. You said it yourself. When you got a place, you were able to do twice as good.
So, yeah, sure. Twice as good. But the thing is, the results can be fixed with volume. So if you just go meet more women and try to pull more women, you'll end up hooking up with the same amount of women. So there's less effort when you have a nice place. And the way
any problem can be fixed with volume, right? But that still means that money matters.
Definitely. So I think the original mindset I had was money doesn't really matter if you want to get results. So a lot of guys think, oh, well, you can't get laid unless you have money in general.
Oh, okay.
I disagree with that. But definitely, I mean, girls come to my crib. It's sick. I have a sick balcony. I have a hot tub. The place is set up. I have a bar in my house. I have like $2,000 of booze, like the Pokemon in the back. And it's just perfect. Like they want to stay over. They want to sleep over. A big issue I have is like girls randomly show up to my crib unannounced, want to crash my house. I'm like, get the fuck out of my house. Right. So it's kind of the opposite problem now. Right. And
you guys don't have like security at the bottom or whatever to keep them out. Like you don't have
I do. But then like they'll buzz up and they'll text me like I'm downstairs. And I'm like, so the whole point is I have such good logistics now. We're city center penthouse, downtown Toronto, down the street from all the clubs, where it's just like pulling is such a, I don't have to think about it. It's just like a part of the daily routine. So yeah, definitely money will help you with logistics, right? But it's not necessarily going to fix the game in general, right? And dude, sometimes I'll be at the club. The club's a little bit far away from my house. I'll just end up pulling a girl in the bathroom anyway because it's logistically more viable. It just makes more sense.
I think
to go to the club bathroom. You know what I mean?
I think we got to be like very careful with like hyperbolic statements. With like people do this with looks that we just spoke about. Like looks don't matter. So I agree. Like there's no one thing that's going to fix your game or get you laid. Like there's not one thing. You need to incorporate everything. And I think for people listening, we also have to be careful. Like money has helped all of us. Okay.
Oh yeah.
It's helped us with our lifestyles, helped us with women. It's helped us feel more comfortable. It's probably brought a level of happiness. So if you're like a broke guy that's trying to get good with women, I think one of the first things you have to do is fix your looks and actually get a fucking good job and get good logistics. Because I see so many students that have been gaming for like 3 years and they're still like, as you said, Justin, like that stage of like living in their mum's basement, but they never leave it. They never get their Pokemon in the background, right? And so I think it's important that they do, because in my mind, women shortcut money. Like if you go up as, you know, one of my students and you say, hey, look, I'm fucking baller in not so many words, but I've got a lot of money. Women are going to attribute a lot of things to that. They're going to think you're probably more dominant than most men. They're going to think you're more confident, that you have your shit together a little bit more. So the perception of money, whether you have it or not, really, the perception of money is actually going to build attraction anyway. So I think, yeah, it's all a balance, right? If you're, as Alex said, got, you know, a nice place and you're able to get girls to it and you go on dates, you're doing sweet. But if you're still in your mom's basement and you're like, man, no, these PUAs said like they're getting fucking laid a lot in my mom's basement. Like, no, get a fucking job, move out, get your shit together, and then like focus more on game.
No, I 100% agree with what you're saying, Marcus. Like, I'm not encouraging guys to be fucking broke. I think every guy should move out of fucking mom's house as soon as possible. Like 18, 19, 20 years old, get the fuck out of there, bro. Like as soon as you can. So you can go live life.
One interesting thing I've noticed is like, I'm sure you guys probably had the same experience with like customers or whatever, people in the picker community. There's like two categories, right? The first category is ones who have like jobs, they have their own business, they're doing shit, right? They only suck when it comes to their dating life. They don't suck when it comes to their financial life. But then there's a second category, the people who are just constant brokies. Like they were broke 4 years ago, they're just as broke today. They never have money. They're always struggling for money, and it's like a perpetual cycle. They're always struggling with money. They're always struggling with girls. Maybe they get a girlfriend sometimes, and they go right back to the same thing. And like they never ever. Like dip out of poverty,
right? And then it's like the mindset. They're in a poverty mindset with women and with finance.
Yeah. But like it's just fascinating to see how like there could be two guys, both of them will suck with girls, but one of them can actually be pretty good with financial things, and one of them can completely take all the same victim shit with girls and put it on money. Like they'll be like 28 years old, still living with their parents, and you'll be like, hey, so are you like thinking about moving out? They look at you like you're proposing, like they build a rocket or something, like you're proposing something crazy. Like, wait, moving out? Like, let's be real. Like, yeah,
that's impossible.
I think I have a really good view on this. I personally, I'm an absolute slut. So I had the same situation Justin Mark over here. I think I fucked about 60 girls in 2020 Camry in a year. It was like rusting, falling off the wheels, and I still got laid. But I'll say this. I think that money allows you to believe in yourself. And also the person that's attached to money is usually a badass. A guy that is attached to money is usually a leader. He usually does have people looking up to him. He has certain traits about himself that make him sexy. And I can see this too. A girl's going to get, if you have an amazing lifestyle, you can leverage it with logistics. You can also leverage situations. I know guys out here in Vegas. What they'll do is they'll get porn houses. Or Michael Sartain, he has this modeling company. The modeling company is made to get him laid. It's not to make him money. Babes in Toyland, if you guys ever heard of it. And I can also imagine a girl wanting to be a part of this lifestyle, being around him more, getting Stockholm syndrome through the act of like just, having an amazing lifestyle. But usually the guy that's attached to money is cooler and also allows you to believe in yourself. To get hot girls.
That's where status comes in though. I think money can actually buy you status, right? And I think status is probably the number one indicator. Like women go to status, they go to value. And so money can facilitate things that would lead into status. Like I know this one dude who was a millionaire with an HVAC company, but he was like been with 3 girls his whole life. So he used the money from his first company to start a modeling agency. So not a modeling, it was like a fashion show. Started like a fashion show and he'd hire models. But because he's spending all these money on these like fashion events, a lot of women would want to sleep with him because he's like kind of the leader. Created like a dominance hierarchy in the fashion event he's doing. And so a lot of these models would kind of want to hang out with him and date him.
I just know too many.
It's like top 0.1% of money can buy your lifestyle. Like that's not rich. That's like ultra rich where you buy a company. But like someone who makes like $500,000 a year, like they can't use money to get status, probably.
Okay.
I disagree a little bit.
I look at too many different people out there so usually I look at what is the unifying fundamentals of a situation. And I've so too many clients who've been rich, who are just god awful with girls. I know you guys have too. Unifying trait is that a guy's cool as fuck. Money's more likely to be an indicator of somebody being cool. But I know too many clients who are rich as fuck and god awful with girls. Honestly, I take them out with me. It's like I can feel the needy, leechy energy off of them. Money doesn't directly make somebody attracted to you, but it can again leverage situations, and yeah, it makes life a lot easier and allows you to believe in yourself, believe that you're a bad motherfucker. But it's not money directly.
Okay, perhaps we can move on to the next thing then. In what aspects of your life do you get women involved? So, super obvious example, parties. But other examples could be going out to restaurants. Denton, you mentioned Babes in Toyland, for example, charities. Another example, last night I was on the Just Pearly Things YouTube channel and I was there with my wife. So, what are some things you get your girlfriends or dates involved in your life areas?
I think there's definitely a big difference between a girlfriend and like a random chick that you recently met. But for me, I mean, my girlfriend helps me with like everything. If I'm traveling somewhere, she'll probably come with me. Yeah, I mean, like I don't think there's anything where I keep her out of. Like even if I'm going out with friends, I'll typically invite her. We'll all have fun. I can't think of anything where I would like not like keep one area of life that I would keep her out of. Yeah, well,
What about like your own personal shit, like stuff that you're dealing with in your mind, demons and like personal like whatever's going on in your own life? Do you share that with her, or do you like
yeah, yeah.
share
If
that with
if,
anyone?
if I feel like she can help, yeah, for sure.
Very open.
I
What
keep
about the
my
rest of you
girls out of
guys?
the business stuff. I keep the business stuff separate, right? Like I'll get my girls to like help out with shit around the house, tidy my house, get me coffee, help me set up with stuff. Sometimes be in the content, but for the most part, I keep things separate as much as I can, right? But
I
if
mean, I think like it's a good idea. Like I do think it could be problematic to get your girl like make her like a partner on the business where she gets like profit. I think that gets really, really dicey. But aside from that, I mean, I guess it depends on who your girlfriend is. Like my girlfriend is like works in marketing. So like her feedback, is going to be beneficial when it comes to marketing, right? So I would
makes sense.
probably like if I need feedback, like I have asked her for feedback, like, hey, which one of these sales pages do you think like flows better? Or like, hey, which types of advertising you think I should do? But yeah, but I do agree with you that you shouldn't like if a girlfriend becomes part of the business, that's when things get a little dicey.
Yeah, I know this huge content creator who just broke up with his girlfriend after 2.5 years. This guy's got like fucking 10 million followers, and he had to buy his girlfriend out of the business. He just gave her 300,000 US dollars, and I don't think he had anything in writing with her. Like I think he was just kind of in simp mode, but she helped him build a business, so fucking just bought her out.
Yeah,
And
but that can happen also with business partners. Like sometimes you
Yeah, I was
just
gonna say, yeah, exactly.
call them out.
She
I mean,
helped.
I've had that happen.
it was his business though, and it was his brand. I think he just kind of felt the need to do so, But
Well, if she's got any leverage, like if she has the passcodes or the logins to his YouTube account or Facebook ads account or whatever he uses, then he's still got to kind of buy that leverage back, right?
yeah,
Well, I think
At
it's just
the
a
end
good
of the
moral
day, oh,
decision.
sorry,
Like
go
if
ahead.
she's helped build the business, like if this was my mate, like if this is my buddy that helped me build the business, even though there was nothing in writing, I'd still like pay that person out. I think that's fair. I mean, depends what you mean by help. Like is she gave some feedback on marketing, as Alex said, then fuck that, right? But if she's actually like helping building the business, then I think that's fair.
At the end of the day, I think business partnerships are really, really hard and possibly even harder than like regular relationships in some ways. So I think that if you are combining your relationship with a business relationship, that's like you're like double dipping into danger territory. So I would personally probably keep those separate, at least in my opinion. I know there's some like YouTubers who get their girlfriends in on the business. I think How to Beast, like his girlfriend, is like directly involved in the business. But yeah, I feel like that's like double dipping in the danger zone, so as to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, I think with any girl, they need to go through some filtering process. I feel like a lot of guys out there that like finally do get a girlfriend or start dating a girl involve them way too much in everything. I think they need to earn these privileges as they go through. So for me, like I'm not really even taking a girl to dinner on the first night, right? Like she's got to earn that privilege, and she's not going to meet any of my friends early on. She's going to like earn that privilege. She's not going to go on a holiday with me. She's going to earn it. So I think like as you go through, and like Alex, you've been with your girlfriend for a while now, right? So she's going to be involved in most of your life, but that's not going to happen to like some fucking Tinder girl I just slept with. So
Yeah,
I think guys
we didn't get dinner until
tend
like a
to
year and a half in. Yeah, it was a
exactly.
while.
Yeah, she's got to earn that, bro. So I think with a lot of guys, they with a girl for 3 weeks, they've made her their girlfriend, they've met all their friends, they're introducing her to family. Like it's way too much, way too early. You're coming off as a little bit needy, and there's no need for it, right? Let the girl earn all of those things that are a part of your life.
I agree with that
Yeah.
completely.
I would just add to that. I think a lot of guys make the mistake of, they hear one side of people saying, keep all your problems away from your woman, and they hear the other side saying, share everything with her. She's your greatest ally. And I think what's missed is to basically, whatever you choose to do, if you're going to share your life with her, your problems, your the good and the bad, you got to add at the end of that, like, and everything is going to be okay. Because a lot of guys will share their own personal problems and the fucked up stuff that's in their mind, and then they'll just leave it there. Like, here's your burden, right, to share with me. But I think the important thing is to, like, remind at the end, like, it's all going to be okay. I've got it taken care of. I'm going to handle this, right? And I think that's what guys miss with the whole vulnerability versus, like, keep your life separate argument.
I would say it comes down to, I think there's like a ratio of who's more, I guess, grounded and dependable. And if the girl has to put on the role of the man, being the one that's like constantly there for you when you're having like breakdown after breakdown, then that's not a good situation to be in. But if you're there for her more than she is there for you, and then sometimes you have issues and you like become really vulnerable and open up to her, as long as the ratio is like favorable in your favor, then it won't be an issue. Even if you don't end it off the way you did with just like saying it's gonna be okay. Even if you're like, hey, listen, I really don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do about this because this is a big issue. Like, as long as she's generally being the woman and you're generally being the man in terms of that dynamic, I think it's probably fine. Or at least it has been for me. I don't know. Maybe it's different for other people.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess
perception
just
matters, and it's going to change on the girl. Like, there are some girls. Oh, sorry, go on, bro.
No, it's fine. You take it. You got it, man.
Are you frozen? You're back now. Oh, there.
Yeah, I'm lagging like crazy right now.
You're good. You're good. You can continue.
Okay, yeah. No, I'm saying like the perception matters, right? So some women are gonna, they're gonna be at that perception that if I even see you a little bit vulnerable, or I see you cry, I think this is the worst thing in the world, and I think you're a little pussy. And there are some girls that are like, I really like when guys kind of be a little bit more vulnerable and share your emotions. So number one, it's gonna depend on the girl. And number two, as Alex said, it's going to depend on their perception of you. If you are always helping them out, you're always being there for them. If she sees you as the man, and then at one point you're like, hey, you know what? Like, fuck, this is really challenging. I need your help with something. What do you think of this? Or you just need someone to vent to. It's very different to using her as like this emotional tampon that you're just like emotionally dumping on. So it's a little bit more nuanced, I think, but I like the idea and I like the message that you can have times where you are vulnerable with a girl. You can share things with your girl. That is fine. I think there's, the red pill space is just like, be stoic, you have zero emotions, never show your. I think that's bullshit. I think women actually enjoy that. I think you're gonna have a better relationship, and it's nice to have someone to chat to about things. So yeah, I think that's the message we should be pushing.
Don't cry in front of your girlfriend, cry in front of your bros.
Let me put my 2 cents here as well. Like, hi guys,
hey man,
for a
how's it
few
going?
seconds. Yeah. So last couple of years I create amazing relationship. Actually, I took a girlfriend and create a partner. And I really believe, like, speaking now to this topic, it really comes down to testing her and slowly involving her into the parts of your life, basically, that she can contribute and that you can share stuff with her. So, like, of course, you don't want to open all your areas of your life, like, financial, business and everything, like, to, first random chick that you bring home, like, kind of, first something girlfriend, like, but if you slowly involve her into your life, like, with small tasks, like, okay, she can cook, okay, she can do this, and you give her slowly things, and you see how's that beneficial for your life. Is your life better with her, with that area, or worse with her, like, and this is how you slowly build up like fully partnership. Like, I like an amazing relationship, like, a girl that I love, like, and basically we share, I would say, pretty much maybe like, 80-90% of the stuff what's happening in a day, like, on a daily basis, like even the girls, and, we are kind of wingmans, going out, kind of have fun with the girls. So it's really, I mean, you can, I mean, if you really go like, stupid, I'm going to cut my life, like, half. So she only, gets to see what, what I choose. Yes. Okay. That's okay. But you can slowly involve her more and more into it. I mean, it really comes down, who is the girl, quality of the girl, how aware she is, like, where is she in her life, and what do you want on the end with her? Is that your kind of life partner? Is that a girl that you're going to be like, banging for next 6 months? Of course, you're not going to like, share your bank account with her, like, but like, it really is as you say, like, every girl has different qualities. Some girls can help you with marketing. Some girls can help you with writing articles. She's a journalist. Like, of course, you're gonna involve her slowly into that, like, to help you out. Like, and you're gonna help her out on the other end, like on her side where she's, where she needs help.
Yeah, I agree with that. Although I would add one thing: if it's a girl that you can't trust to help you out with like shit, then you shouldn't be dating her in the first place. Like, she's not like girlfriend material. Then, like, why would you want to date a girl who you can't like rely on? Like, to me, it's like, if I'm going to be in a relationship with a girl, I better be able to rely on her for a lot of shit. I better, like, if I'm like, yo, I need this shit right now, she better like be able to help me and not be like, you're being feminine. Like, I don't know.
How long has your relationship been with your girlfriend again, Dan?
5 years.
5 years. Yeah, there we go. That's a lot longer than a lot of, especially young people. So yeah, we dived into that in our episode a few weeks ago. Very solid stuff. Any other comments on that?
I think it's interesting to observe how like bad red pill podcasts are giving relationship advice. They're better at giving advice on how to fuck girls and sleep with girls, but when it comes to relationships, they're so bad at it. I mean, typically none of them are in relationships themselves, and sometimes have never been in relationships. But they seem to think that like a relationship is basically like almost like a value exchange where the girl cooks, cleans, and fucks, and you give her money and like drive her around and shit, whatever. And that's what it is. That's I think they look at it very from a transactional perspective. I've never really seen any of these red pill podcasts talk about the importance of good communication, how to address problems before they begin, how to empathize and understand where your girlfriend is coming from and vice versa, how to avoid problems in the first place through transparency, how much transparency is too much transparency. Like, these are like, I think, the things that make a relationship successful, but like they're never discussed.
And as well, very important fact, what she needs from a man to be happy. And this is like, where the whole communication comes down. Every girl has a different image in her mind of how her relationship she wants to be like, and of course, this is where compatibility comes from, like, so that's what I do very early in a relationship. I always advise to my guys, like, okay, like, after a couple of months, okay, sit down and ask, okay, like, write me down everything what you need from me that I can do on a daily basis to make you happy. I want to know everything what other guys didn't do, they should have done it to make you happy. I want to know all of that. So when you come home tired, I want to know what I can do to make you happy. That's kind of essential. And of course, that list you give to her as well, like yours, so she knows. And I mean, this is very communicate. I mean, like, people say, like, you need to communicate. Communication is important, but quality communication, what the fuck you communicate about, that's even more crucial,
Yeah, sure.
So
I just want to quickly respond to Alex's comment, because he said that a lot of the red pill channels never discuss this stuff. And I think the difficulty for a lot of those channels is that if they did discuss that stuff, they would potentially lose their audience, right? So you almost fall into sort of a catch-22 where it's like, the more you learn about relationships, there's this resistance to actually going there and changing your mind, because if you change your mind, what happens to your audience? What happens to your brand? So I think a lot of the times what happens is that those guys just can't address it because it conflicts in some way with their branding, which means that we've got a problem of truth, right? And experience speaking wisdom, essentially.
Yeah, there's actually a term for that. It's called audience capture. So it's like the phenomenon, like, why does Fox News constantly talk about like election denial shit, or at least what they used to, right? Because that's what their audience wanted to see, right? But then during the Dominion lawsuit, it turned out that like actually none of them believed in that. They just talked about it because that's what the audience wants them to discuss. So yeah, I'm sure that happens with the red pill community. But I would argue that like a lot of these guys, they don't actually know any of this stuff because they haven't really been successful relationships. It's like watching a homeless person talking about making money. It's like, okay, like, what the fuck do you know? It's just it comes down to like all theory, some of which is right, but a lot of which turns out to be wrong. Yeah. But yeah, I can see your point that like, if they start talking about like communication, like their audience will be like, yo, you're so gay, bro, you a faggot. Like, yeah, it's not probably going to be a good look for some red pill podcast.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think if a lot of them heard Bad Boy's answers, they'd probably be like, pussy. Like, would you asking a girl what she wants? Like, that's yeah. Like, what were you gonna bring a fucking flat? Like, but but everyone in game is so bad at managing relationships. Like even you see guys that come in and they can have like a 300 lead count. They can go out and pull a girl, but you put them in front of a girl for more than 3 weeks and they have no idea what the fuck they're doing. They don't know how to handle relationships. They're either lying to the girl and saying that they're exclusive and have all these other girls on the side, or they make it way too casual and like the girls get a little bit slut shamed about it and they don't know. They are so awful at having all these skills.
It's a completely different ball game.
Management.
It's a completely different ball game.
100%
it's a
different.
completely different sport. It's like running sprint and running a marathon. You're gonna train differently to run sprint and to run marathon. Your muscles, your food, I mean, like everything, whole lifestyle is gonna be different for these two sports. I mean, you're still running, but you're running 100 meters. You're running like 10, 20, 50 kilometers. Like you will train different. So of course, it's kind of one thing doesn't mean you're gonna. It's kind of a guy who drives the car doesn't know how to fix the car. Really driver doesn't have
the problem is that guys think that the girlfriend is the finish line. They don't see it as a marathon or a sprint. They think that's the finish line. So they say, okay, I've got a girlfriend now. I'm done, right? They become super needy. They get into this relationship. And I see this even with like fucking coaches back in the day. Like most coaches that I met back in the day had no idea what the fuck they were doing in relationships, right? And so, the guys get into game. They get good at it. They fuck some women. They get in a relationship. They think that's the end. And then 2 years later, we hear all these stories where, okay, they get completely walked all over. They get completely emasculated. They have no fucking say in anything. They get out of their relationship like a broken fucking person. And it's if you just took some same attitude towards the learning game or getting good with women, that you took it like relationship management, you wouldn't have a problem. But if you think it's a finish line, that's where it fucks up. So then you learn that new skill.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think one of the biggest problems that particularly young guys have today is there's like a complete inability to separate like sex and adventure, right? So a guy will go out and he'll talk to loads of women, he'll have a great time doing cold approach, and then it will come time for a relationship, right? And he's like, well, how can I do that? Because his entire life up until this point has had adventure and sex completely entangled together. So now the idea of giving up on like loads of sex with loads of different girls is like, that's taking away the adventure from his life. So I think one of the big tasks for like young guys who actually do want a relationship is to disentangle sex with the sense of like conquest and adventure as a man. Because once the sex gone, what do you fill that adventurous side, right? What do you fill the explorative side of yourself with when it's not women and sex?
But I don't think you have to give it up though. Like I never had to give it up. Like you can, like a lot of girls will be cool with you sleeping with other girls as long as it's framed in the right way. It's like, hey, like you're the only girl I'm gonna be who's actually my girlfriend. You're the only girl I have feelings for. You're the only girl I'm gonna, who's gonna meet my family. But I like novelty, so occasionally I'll sleep with other girls, and sometimes we'll fuck these girls together. I mean, I think like there's a lot of couples who make that part work. Yeah. Where you don't have to give up the idea of fucking. It's not gonna work with every girlfriend, but I think it will work with more than people think if it's like framed the right way and it's framed that way from the beginning. Not like
I agree. Yeah, that's a good thing. A lot of people get confused by this particular thing. I absolutely agree that a lot of guys actually think it's more difficult than it actually is. I have had that experience before. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But just to jump on that point, could you give some practical advice in order to have guys understand how they can make that happen?
Sure. Yeah. I think I did a video on this a while ago, but essentially it comes down to this. Okay. So I think the first is screening. You need a girl who's rather low on the jealousy, what's it called? Spectrum, right? So this won't work with a girl who's highly jealous or even moderately jealous. You need a girl who's really not that jealous. And you need a girl who's at least somewhat open-minded. Like she doesn't have to be like a hippie or something like that, but it can't be like it's not going to work with like a traditional Christian, like religious type of girl, right? So the first part is screening. The second part is, I guess, making the value proposition high enough. So that's like, you're the best that she's ever had in bed. You're really fun to spend time with. You're really cool. Like none of the other guys that she has gone on a date with in the last 2 years come close. So the value proposition is high. And then when things evolve into a relationship, then you frame it like you're just being honest. At least that's the way I did. I was like, hey, listen, like I really like novelty, and I don't want to like be exclusive with you and then cheat on you and have to like break your heart, because I did that in the past and I hated doing that. And she was like, well, I don't really care if you have sex with girls as long as you don't like start dating them.
And
And
wait,
so
wait, wait. And this doesn't really come as a surprise because your Instagram, your lifestyle kind of has that implication in the first place.
mine, I don't know if mine does really, but yeah, maybe because of the YouTube channel. Although my girlfriend told me that she never like in the beginning, she never ever watched my YouTube channel because it would trigger her. So I don't know how much of that played in a role. But yeah, I think it just came down to the fact that she's very low on the jealousy spectrum, like that. She is semi open-minded, and the fact that I think the value, at least I like to believe so, the value proposition was pretty high. And yeah, she went along with it. Also, I think you can frame it as a way as it's like a positive. It's like, hey, listen, like you and I both can meet girls and have threesomes with them. So you're not making it about yourself. You're making it about both of you. Like, hey, this can be an adventure for both of us. So yeah, I don't know if that
In my experience, at least about 5 years ago, I think I did have a girlfriend, not for that long though. She actually brought up the conversation in the first place. I remember her saying specifically, um, I know I know you would want to see other girls. I'm okay with that for now, but down the line, I would want you to just be with me. That is almost word for word what I remember her saying, and I didn't bring it up. But I guess the reason for her saying that is because of how my Facebook, Instagram, and everything else was set up. It didn't come as a surprise, and I didn't have to be the one to bring that up in the first place. So in your case, Alex, it's maybe it wasn't apparent for you, but for other guys, if you do have that kind of thing on display, like Justin does with his Instagram, very solid Instagram, they're very obviously he's not just like, once you see
I
his
don't get that problem
Instagram,
at
you're
all.
not just, yeah, exactly.
Like the whole like, oh, let's be exclusive thing. Like I don't really get that problem. Like I'll meet girls and be like, hey, just like the first thing I tell them is just I have 3 girlfriends. Like full disclosure, I let them know from the get go. Or I mean, they added me on Instagram. It's like in their fucking face, And polygamy is like a real thing, and a lot of women are into it. A lot of women kind of like idealize the concept of sister wives. It's so crazy, but
Just
women like
clarify.
that.
For one man with multiple women, it's called polygyny, whereas polygamy is the opposite, I think.
I think you're mixing up polygamy and polyamory. So polyamory is where it's like open relationships, the girls date other guys, but polygamy is there's like one man, multiple women. The women don't date other men. And so what's funny about polygamy is it took me a long time to accept that I was like a polygamous man. Like I was hanging out with some friends and they were just talking about how happy they are with their girlfriends and how happy they are being monogamous. And they're describing like the thought of happy they are that they can never lose this and they don't desire the women. And it was so weird. There's like this disconnect where I was like, I just don't see the world like that. Like I need to have like multiple women. I need 2, 3, 4, right? Maybe I can have like a primary girlfriend, but then I have like a secondary, third girlfriend. They can all be friends, right? But just the way my brain is wired, I think is a little bit different. And I think a lot of men don't know how to actually communicate that. It took me a long time to figure out how to actually communicate that in my relationships.
How do you do it now?
Yeah.
I'm just honest from the get-go. Like I don't like lying either, right? And now the problem is with a lot of women when they fall in love, they get very emotional and they get very attached, right? Even if they would even accept the fact that you're polygamous or accept the fact that you want to date other women, after they're attached, they're still going to show envy and jealousy. And so you kind of just have to set the boundaries of like, this is who I am. Almost as if like imagine like the concept of like coming out as gay. You have to come out as like polygamous and like set that like, this is my sexuality, or this is like how I see the world. And this is how I view relationships. And this is like the world I live in. Right. And I think polygamy actually works a lot better than polyamory as well, because I think most women don't necessarily want to date other men. They want to attach themselves to like one strong, stable man, but they're okay with that man dating other women or seeing other women as long as they know they're loved, or as long as they know they are still wanted and desired. So I find that really interesting. It's the way, because I don't think most men are polygamous. I don't think most men, like a lot of guys like the concept or idea of polygamy, but I don't think most men's brains are actually wired to be polygamous or even have the access where they could be polygamous. right?
They just want to have a relationship in
Yeah.
Germany.
Justin,
Yeah, I think
here's how you got to frame it. You got to be like, listen, bitch. There's 1 billion people in India. Okay, I'm part of. There's literally 5 of us who are banging a bunch of white girls. I'm one of them. So don't you dare.
Yeah, no, I think I'm pretty straight up with it. Even like with social media, like I've got thousands of girls on Instagram and they kind of see what it is. And it kind of almost filters out the girls that wouldn't be okay with it. Right. And so one thing I started doing was screening for bisexual women because I figured instead of dating straight women who aren't into girls, right, bisexual women would be more empathetic and understanding with the concept of wanting to date other women as well. Right. And so over the last year and a half, did a lot of that. And it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of very fun, exciting experiences. But I almost even found that a lot of bisexual women weren't even good, stable dating partners. Like the girls that just want the fun, they're not going to be good girlfriends. So I found like dating straight women who are monogamous to you, but you kind of do your thing, kind of just makes the most sense if you're looking to actually have like serious long-term relationships.
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay, great opportunity to lean into this question. Do you guys want to get married and have kids? So obviously, divorce rate in Canada, USA, England, Australia, and the other countries you guys are from, extremely high. It's like 60 something percent, extremely high. I'm married, by the way. I have a child. So for me, yes, I did make that decision. I've been married for nearly 4 years. My daughter is 3 years old. That's something I pretty much always wanted. Do you guys want to get married and or have kids?
I think that's a bit of a loaded
I
question.
don't even think it's that. Oh, so go for it, Justin.
Yeah, so I think there's like layers to marriage, right? Like there's like you can have your stay-at-home wife, or you can have the marriage where it's like a partnership, almost like a business relationship where you guys decide to like do everything together and you guys are actual partners, right? And there's also the concept of like, are you married on paper or off paper? Because there's like this spiritual marriage where like you're intertwined, but you don't get your business involved, right? And so that's where things get messy because I don't like the idea of like imagine you spend 10 years building up a business, you're 35, you get married to a woman and now she gets half your assets, your house, your car, half the business assets. So that's where things get messy. So I don't think marriage is ideal for most entrepreneurs or successful men. But if you're an average guy, I think it can make some sense.
I mean, I think a lot of that can be solved with a prenup, though, as long as it's like legally sound. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't. I have no desire to get married or have kids right now, but I wouldn't cross it off the list. Maybe in 10 years, I'll see the world differently.
For sure. What about the
Yeah,
rest of you guys?
I'll probably get married at some point. But I think I want to push back on this idea that it's like a high number. Like in my mind, like how many percentage of businesses fail? It's probably around the same, right? It's probably like 50%.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
yeah, I mean, that number's high, and we never sit here and say, like, hey, listen, half business fails, no one should get into business, be really careful about getting into business. Like, we're always encouraging people to like be entrepreneurial. So I think like most relationships are going to fail. Most suck, right? And guys before marriage probably go through like 6 to, I don't know, 10 relationships or something before they even get married. So I think like a relationship in a marriage that fails like half the time, probably, I don't even consider that high for most guys. But if you actually learn, like I said before, like relationship management, if you actually have a good relationship and you actually grow with that person, then I think
And
the chances
if you're
of failing
watching this
a
video
lot
right
lower.
now, you're more likely to be in the position to take relationships more seriously. So surely the people watching us guys have a better chance because we actually want to improve these aspects too.
Marcus, I just looked it up. Within 10 years, 65% of businesses fail.
No, perfect. There you go. Right. And we're not sitting here being like, don't start a business. Oh my God, your business partner is going to take half your shit and blah, blah. Like we don't fucking care about that. So I think if people want to get married, they should. Yes, you need to be a little bit careful about it. Yes, you should learn the skills and you should actually screen the girls properly. Don't get married after 2 weeks after you fall in love with some random thing to go, right? But I think, look, if it does fail at the end of the day, when you take all those precautions, it's all good, right? Move on, find someone else and be happy, right? But I don't think it should stop people from making that decision just because like other people suck at relationships.
What are the pros of marriage? Like, why not just be with the person?
Well, it depends. Okay, when I'm saying marriage, I'm just considering this like a very long-term, serious relationship, right? Look, the actual benefit of marriage, I guess you could argue, is like religious for some people, spiritual for others. It could be like a declaration to the girl herself. But in my mind, like married or not married, it's the same shit. Like the government view it the same way. If I'm living with a girl for 10 years, whether I get married or not, it's like viewed the same way in Australia, right? So I'm just considering this like a long-term serious relationship where someone's living in with you. You can like do the paperwork, you can get married. It's the same shit in the government size in most places.
Dude, I'm absolutely for living with a girl for the rest of my life. If the girl's close, if the girl's hot, cool as fuck, my best friend, love living with her for the rest of my life. But honestly, fuck marriage. There's no upside for a man. I don't know like any reason why guys shouldn't. I know so many people who'd argue till about the situation, and I don't see the point for a man. For me personally, I mean, my game gets better every year. The quality of the women I date every year gets better. So why would you, if you know that you're investing in a stock that's constantly rising and always getting better, it actually makes it kind of difficult to ever want to. And I don't see the benefits of having a lifelong partner, at least not right now. Maybe at some point I'll evolve to a different person. But the man I am right now.
You would do it.
So let's not use the word marriage. So let's use the word commitment to a long-term partner. So you don't believe in having a commitment to a long-term partner because you believe that you'll like essentially sell and buy a better product. Is that what you mean by that? Or are you
dude, I get cooler every year. The girls I date get more awesome. And when you put so much energy into one person, I mean, like, I know some people who run businesses, so it makes sense for them to get married and go directly. I mean, like run like a business where it's like 100 hours plus a week.
That guy needs to get the main benefit is if you're planning on having kids, because if you're planning on having children, then being in a stable, committed relationship is better for the child. That's the
no. Like kids get fucked up in marriages too. Like people get fucked up in marriages. Like I've noticed
like the studies on this are like pretty clear. Like kids who come from married couples do way better than kids who come from single parents' homes. Like,
yeah, but that's not all right. So if you are somebody that is all right, so if you come from like fucked up parents, they're more likely to be divorced. They're more likely not to be together. I don't think it's a direct correlation.
I mean, you don't think like having mother and father in a kid's life helps him like grow up better? Like, obviously it helps.
Well, what's the alternative here? Let's paint the picture of the alternative then, Denton. Like I mean, so you're picturing a situation where you have a child with a girl and then you move on to another girl and like you're still kind of in that kid's life. Like, what does that look like?
I think I'd be a killer father, honestly. Regardless of my situation, I think that I'd be a killer father and raise that kid right. I think I'd be great at it. I don't see the point in like what is it about a marriage that makes it so it's stability, right?
Yeah,
that's what people like about marriage.
Correct,
yeah, I'm stable. Yeah, I'd be a great father. I'd be stable regardless of marriage. Like, is it like?
But she might not be. The woman might not. The woman might not be stable without a permanent fixture there, right? And you run the risk of her seeking that stability elsewhere, and then your son or daughter being brought up by a different man whose rules of the house you don't agree with or you can't agree with, and that can cause instability.
Yeah, also she's like taking a bit of a risk by like rearing your child because she's probably going to like give up on her career or at least put her career on hold.
And it is a risk. Yeah, it's totally
like if you bounce out like 2 years later, she kind of gets fucked, right? So that's why like some girls, if they're gonna have a kid with you, they're gonna probably want some kind of form of commitment on your side, which makes sense. I don't blame them for wanting that. It's like
I just don't see any proof that that's going to cause any form of.
I like sort of agree. I think if you're not planning on having kids, then marriage is kind of pointless, unless you're doing it for religious reasons. But I think if you are planning on having kids, then there's definitely value to marriage.
Yeah, I just see marriage as like a commitment to a long-term partner, right? Because it's viewed the same in the government side. Like, I think this, as you said, Alex, there might be like a religious benefit. It's like, oh, okay, I'm doing the sacrament of marriage. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, if you're just planning that, like, okay, look, after 5 years, I'll bounce to a new girl and blah, blah, I think that might be a little short-sighted. That might change later on when you get a bit older. And maybe you do want like a longer term partner to be there with you. And I think definitely as kids happen. Yeah, look, I agree with you, Denton. You could be a killer father. You could be amazing and still like raise amazing children if you're not like with the girl that you had the baby with. But that wouldn't be like my go-to plan, right? It wouldn't be like my, okay, look, I'm going to get rid of this girl in a few years for someone else, but let's have a kid and I'll raise it with her. I think that you might be underestimating like how good of a time you can probably have with one girl, especially if you're still open and fucking like the new hotter younger girls.
Well, if I still have a good relationship, if I choose the right woman to have a kid with, I still don't. I get this whole like, this sounds like a bunch of things that society says all the time. It sounds like something that women kind of put into the culture to tie down badasses, like cool ass guys. And I get it. If I was on their side of the fence too, I'd be pushing for marriage every day of my life. If I was talking,
but you wouldn't be tied down if you're fucking other girls, right? Like, really? Would you feel tied down still or
no? Are you talking about in terms of if I get married and I'm not allowed to fuck other girls?
No, I'm saying like if you're like with a long-term partner, but you're still in an open relationship and fucking like other girls, right? Would you still feel tied down in that situation?
Like you could be,
Right.
what he's saying is you could be married and you could still fuck up.
We're not talking about married, right?
Yeah.
Are we still talking about marriage? Yeah, I'd feel tied down if I was married. I mean, like you have to be. At that point now, your finances are involved, litigation. Like if, all right. So
But to be fair, your finances are involved if you're like in a de facto relationship with someone that you're living with, right?
I don't even believe in marriage. I just for me. I'm like,
It's a little different in the U.S. market. There's only like
okay.
89 states that have common law marriage, and it's like at least 5 years. But most states like Florida, there's no common law marriage. I could live with my girlfriend for 2 years, and we're still not going to be considered. So it just depends on what state.
It's a little different here. All right, cool, easy.
Alrighty, let's move on to another thing. So back to game a little bit more. What's the most common mistake you see men make in game?
Well, I think the biggest one is mindsets, right? We kind of spoke about this a little bit before. People thinking like looks or anything matter. People thinking that they should stay in their mum's basement forever. I think mindsets are the biggest thing that hold people back. And that usually manifests in poor subcoms. It usually manifests in them being super hard on themselves. So they have like one rejection by a girl and they don't want to like approach anyone else or go out anymore. They have one failed relationship and, you know, they think all women are fucking horrible and they join some red pill community. So I think like mindsets are the first thing and most fundamental thing that people fuck up the most and need to correct. And that usually manifests in like a lot of other problems. So I'd say mindsets.
Yeah, I would say it's yes, mindset, definitely the whole inner game, but as well, like, you know, lack of social and emotional intelligence. This is where kind of guys are today really fucking it up big time. Like, you know, they don't socialize enough. They don't feel, you know, emotions. They're like more too much in their heads. And as well, basing a game, basically all what they know is basically what society, what mainstream is selling. You know, game based on money, looks, and status. You know, that's their way how to get girls. You know, what you do, like, you know, you need money, looks, and status. Like go to the gym, and you know that's their whole. And then like some basic conversation, like, you know, or even like asking questions. You know, interview mode. So, but I would say it all comes down to social and emotional intelligence. Very low social and emotional intelligence. Average level of social emotional, it really dropped down in the last couple of years. But that's kind of for general trend, like, you know, especially in a community like what the guys we've been teaching, like, you know.
Yeah, I think most guys never even get started. Like, I think most guys aren't even consistent. They don't even like go out and take enough action, or they're not consistent. So they kind of fall off almost from the get-go. Like they never, if you don't stay consistent, you're not going to get results at all. And you actually have to go out and practice and take action and actually implement that kind of aspect in your life to make it like daily routine. So that's where a lot of guys make a lot of mistakes, where they're not learning enough because they're not taking enough action. They're not meeting enough women.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also think it's just pure relatability. Like, I think one of the potential problems with our industry is like guys will see us and try and copy exactly what we do and not understand that there are nuances there that we have specifically that they can't exactly copy. And I think for a lot of guys who want just normal dating life, they just want to have a nice girl, they just want to date, they're not looking necessarily to be in the top 0.1%. For them, it's just relatability, because there are so many girls out there who kind of their bar is like a normal, decent guy, right? But these guys are putting something on. So they're not winning those girls and they're not winning any other girls either, because there's something off. It's that uncanny valley. They're not relatable. So I think for the average guy, if we're talking about the majority, I think it's literally just thinking they have to do more than they actually have to do. They basically just have to go up, say hi, be normal, be acceptable socially. And a lot of the time that's enough to get them over the mark.
I don't know if I have like one, but I guess I'll do like three that come to mind. The first one is like on a date, talking about yourself way too much. Like guys go on a date and they'll just blabber and the girl will get bored. That's not really a good game if you're just going like, yeah, so, you know, I was a snowboarding champion and like no one gives a shit. You want to ask questions, build on those questions, you know, make funny statements, flirt with the girl, not so much just like tell her your fucking history. I think number two is failing to build sexual tension. keeping the date. Like they're very afraid of like creeping the girl out, so they never build any sexual tension. And then 2 hours in, the date is over, and the girl's like, "All right, cool. Well, it was nice meeting you." And the guy's like, "What happened? I thought she was gonna go back to my place." And I would say the third one is being overly gamey. That's more over text that I see this, but guys just like trying really hard because they're really worried about coming off as boring. So they go to the other end of the spectrum. They try really hard not to be boring, but then that also is not good because it just seems like very try hard. So they're like trying to say like these overly witty, like overcomplicated like texts that like actually just make it seem like the guy's trying really hard not to try hard. Yeah, so I think those are probably the three that come to mind for me.
Great. Anyone else who hasn't shared theirs yet?
I'm gonna sound like I'm pandering here, but I think everybody gave really good advice. I think at different levels, different people have different situations. So if you're not doing fucking game and that's your thing, like which is the majority of society, you need to get yourself out there and start taking action because none of the advice we give you, anybody is going to actually be applicable if you're not going out and taking action. If you're not getting coaching, if you're not going out there and talking to girls, you're not trying to be more social and you're stuck in your mom's basement, time to get out of your mom's basement. But if you are actually getting out there and gaming, the other things the other guys said, I absolutely agree with. It's just, I think it's where somebody's at. Like the same thing with Red Pill we talked about earlier, that some people in Red Pill, they needed that momentarily. Like they were in a moment where, maybe life was very hard and they were scared and they were angry. And so Red Pill gave them out. It's just not getting stuck at a certain place and being willing to move past that.
Alrighty, let's move on then. How do you deal with rejection? So let's not put Justin as the first one to answer this. Maybe Dan can answer first.
How do you deal with rejection? I mean, it's again comes back to like, to the mindset and their inner game. Okay, like, it's like the best way to see it, like you have $1 million, I don't know, like, check, and you knock on the door and girl is like, fuck off. And you're about to give like $1 million. You're about to enrich her life. You're about to like to change her life. And she's like, fuck off. I mean, that girl could travel the world with me, could like have like, the best life ever. And she was like, no, I don't want to. Okay. My pain, her loss. Simple as that. Yeah, it hurts, but she lost more in that transaction than me.
Yeah.
Her life could get better.
Yeah, it makes sense. No, it's okay. I think like I thought about this a lot recently because I had this it became really obvious that when my clients were going out with me or even with someone else, like someone I connected them with, a friend or a wing, they didn't care about rejection at all. It was only when they were by themselves, right? It didn't even matter who they were with. It's just when they're by themselves, that's when they get the crushing feeling that they're not good enough, all of the mental noise that stops them from approaching. So like the way that I personally dealt with it and how I help them to is to literally treat yourself almost like you're two people. Like if you've got a buddy with you, you know that guy takes away the pain of the rejection. You've got that sort of resource that you can use as a way of pushing you forwards. You can laugh about it with them. So you almost like split yourself in two and imagine that you're having a dialogue with yourself instead of that person. Just be like, you've got this, man. It's okay. It's funny, right? You bring humor into it, like laugh at the tragedy of a guy finally working up the courage to talk to this girl this one time. And she's just like, I don't give a fuck, right? You can see the humor in it. But if it feels like you're completely alone, it's very difficult to do that. Whereas if you feel like you're actually your own best friend, it's a lot easier.
Bipolar people are loving that point you're making. So
yes, sir.
Bipolar guys, leave 2 likes on the video and 2 comments.
Buy my Get More Bipolar course. It's on sale.
Mm-hmm. Bipolar 101. I think there's a few things. I think first of all, you have to train yourself not to give a fuck what random people think about you. For me, a really big part of that was doing sales for 5 years because just the volume, like you're never gonna, like when you're doing cold approach pickup, you're not going to approach 200 girls a day. But when you're doing sales, you are going to knock on 200, 300 doors a day. You are going to talk to 200. So the volume is so much higher when you're doing sales for 8 hours a day. And like you will, if you give a shit, like, because you think rejection is bad when it comes to cold approach, you haven't seen anything. With sales, it's way harder. When you're knocking someone's door, like they're trying to like fucking sleep and you're trying to sell them something that costs like $20,000, you're going to get way harsher rejection than anything a girl can give you. And so like, yeah, the people who succeed in sales are the people who are able to like laugh it off and move on until they find someone who's interested. So I think that was something that was really helpful for me. But I think also a really good mindset shift is the girl's not rejecting you. She's rejecting her perception of you. And you've talked to her for 10 seconds. She has no idea who the fuck you are. She's just rejecting her perception of you, which is heavily based on her life experiences, based on the last guy that approached her, based on the last boyfriend, based on her mood, right? She doesn't know the real you, so she can't reject you. And when you realize that by like, yeah, like it becomes a lot less painful because like, okay, well, she didn't really reject me. She rejected what she thought was me, but she's probably way off. Again, because she has no idea who the fuck I am. Yeah, that would be my thoughts. I do gotta go because it's like 5:30. But yeah,
let me add on to this. Like, I would say lots of girls reject themselves as well. I'm never gonna forget, like, like 10 years ago, one girl told me, she was like, yeah, I went out with my girlfriend and I know my high heel broke, like some new, like a Louboutin high heels. And she was like, I was so pissed off, like, I didn't want to meet her. She was like, every guy that will approach, I was just gonna reject him, like, because like, I felt shitty because like, I don't know, like, I had like, one high heel, like, that's working, So like, she was like, for whole night, I was just kind of rejecting guys because of that.
Yeah, some girls also have like success barriers, I think they're called, where they're like where something is too good, they're subconsciously like bail because it's like they think they're not worthy of that kind of like happiness. So that's also
guys have it as like fear of success, like
yeah.
It's almost
like a self-sabotage. I find like a lot of women
self-sabotage. That's the word.
Because so I saw this interesting video recently where this guy's on the street, I think in New York, he's handing out bars of gold. And there's no context. He's walking up to people saying, hey, take this. It's a bar of gold. And people are just walking by. Like, they don't want it. It doesn't register. This guy's handing out each bar of gold is worth $2,000. So the way I see it is every time you walk up to a girl, if you're offering value, I mean, how can you be upset that they don't want the value you have to offer? You can't take that personally, right? It's more of a reflection of them if you truly are just giving and not taking. Right. So like imagine this. You have $100 bills, you're hanging out $100 bill here, $100 bill there, $100 bill there. The fourth person doesn't want it. They get mad. Like, okay, cool. You're not gonna be upset because you still have $100. Right. So there's no way you can get upset about that if you actually know your value and you genuinely know you have so much to offer. So I think having that mindset shift really makes you not really care about getting rejected.
Yeah. What if you don't feel that you're worth $100, a bar of gold, or $1 million? Like, obviously there's a mindset problem.
Work on yourself to actually make yourself feel like you're a man of value and actually go give value. Right? If you don't feel like you have a value to offer, we'll go.
There is very simple exercise to this. That's what I usually give to my guys. Sit down and write on piece of paper everything what you can do for that girl. Like everything, all the values, qualities you have, how you can, I don't know, offer something, your values. You basically, that piece of paper, like, it's fucking crucial. Like, write 15, 20 things, what you can do for her, make her laugh, like, take her for dinner tonight, have amazing sex, give her, like, the best massage, whatever you can, whatever, like, you accumulated in, like, your 20, 30 years of the skills, what is there that you can give to her or kind of provide or offer. Okay. And then that piece of paper in your pocket and go out to approach.
Yo, guys, I got to run, but thanks for putting this together, Ice. It was a good discussion.
I got to bounce up too.
Cheers,
Take care. Let me know next time you do one as well. Take it easy.
Oh, yeah, guys. For sure. Loved what you guys were saying. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, for sure.
See you guys.
See you,
bro. And the rest of us shall continue. So, Mark.
I wanted to add to this. I think we're missing like one crucial fact here, which I agree, right? You want to write down your value and understand that you are worth that $100. You do want to like depersonalize a little bit, like make it less about you and make it a little bit more objective. You could write down your thoughts and challenge them, separate yourself into two people. But I think the big thing we're missing is like, this is how you get good at anything. Right? It is through the rejection and the failure and actually taking that and learning from it. So like, I see all of this not as like, how do I deal with rejection? It's like, how do I use the feedback to be better? Like, how do I actually implement this? So when I go up to a girl and she rejects me from cold approach, the question I ask myself is, okay, well, what do I learn from that? Was I not making enough eye contact? Do I need to be louder with this girl? Do I need to speak to her friends first because she's like super hot and attractive and going to reject every single guy? If it's in a relationship, then again, what could I have learned from that? I will ask a girl, okay, why do you not want to see me anymore? I used to do this years ago all the time. Even in successful encounters, I will try get rejected, right? Even in successful encounters, I sleep with a girl. I will turn over to her after sex and be like, look, what could I improve? What did I do wrong? I want to hear all that negative feedback because that's actually how you're going to learn. So I think it needs to be less about, oh, I feel shitty about like fucking getting rejected. Cool. Like get over that, move on, do all these things we spoke about. But really, like this is how you fucking learn. You should be going out there hoping that you get as many of these opportunities as possible where you can actually apply it, learn from it, ask coaches, you know, what's going on, how you can improve. And that is how all of us learn game, right? It's from these actual rejections and failures.
Oh yeah, for sure. So lots of the guys in the Game Global chats, we got 310 cities around the world that we have groups for. It's very common for guys to be like, here's a screenshot of what I did, what I sent in terms of messaging. Here's a failed report or like something that happened on a date. And then the question is, guys, what did I do wrong? And they're asking, guys, we weren't there on the date with you. If we see the screenshot, it may be more easy to kind of find out what the problem is, way easier because we can see it. But and yeah, I can definitely see that because I'm seeing that from the perspective of when guys are asking guys for help on this instead of the women who rejected them or the date that went wrong. So I really like that point.
Yeah, we actually have a few basically templates about how to get feedback of women. So what to actually message them when you do have a failed date, what to message them after a good sexual encounter, to actually get this feedback. And like even templates for in the club. Like when I used to go up to girls in the club and say, listen, okay, I'm leaving now. All right, I'm going home. Because she's probably like, fuck, get the hell away from me. You have no idea what you're doing. You uncalibrated loser, right? And I'd be like, look, my girlfriend recently broke up with me, which was true at the time. I'm trying to get better with women. Do you have like any advice for me? And of course, all the girls will be like, oh no, it's fine. You just be yourself. I was like, okay, fuck you. Okay, no, tell me the truth. Like one thing. And then she's like, okay, well, look, you kind of like ignored all my friends. Like, I'm not gonna like ditch them. Or she's like, look, you just seem very, very nervous. Like you're very fidgety. And so all of this, like you can learn from, but you have to be like willing to ask, right? And as I forget who mentioned it, maybe I forget who actually commented about it. Maybe it was you, Sam. You actually have to like separate and realize like these are just your behaviors. This is objectively like behaviors that you're showing. These are behaviors that you can change. It's not you, it's not your identity. You don't suck. Your behaviors suck, and your behaviors you can change. So yeah, 100%. That's how you're going to improve.
Yes, I agree. Feedback, negative but positive, is as well crucial. What I did, and actually that's how I changed my game. Like, you know, but years ago, like every girl I would sleep, I'll bring home. I was like, okay. I was like, next morning, tell me at which point exactly you started to think about sex with me. What did I say? What did you do? What was the turning point when you said, okay, I'm going to have sex with him?
Yeah.
And they're like, question. Oh, when you said this. Then next girl, oh, when you said this. Oh, when you did this. And when you did it. Then what I did, I ditched everything in my game that's not something that got me laid in the last 2 years. I had a whole Excel file of just the things that I did. They were proven, like, you know, basically they point out when you told me this, when you touched me here, when you moved, when you bought me this or that. Like basically there was always something. So yes, positive. I mean, this is how you learn. Negative, definitely feedback, like ego. Basically, ego is the problem of the negative feedback. Like, you know, positive ones you can accumulate as well. Like you get, and this is, they will teach you. Girls will teach you the whole game. Women will teach you everything. We are their students. We learn. The only thing what we did, we basically, like, you know, we had balls and craziness to go out there and learn from them.
For sure. I think the only other thing is that volume solves for all of this, right? I think for a lot of guys coming in, the tendency is to go to the worst case scenario, right? So you think, what's going to happen if I go up and talk to this girl? And your mind immediately goes to the worst possible case that could happen. But what happens when you solve with volume by just doing more is you see the best it can go and the worst it can go, right? You've done 1,000 approaches now. You know what it looks like when it goes fucking amazing, and you know what it looks like when it goes terribly. And so you know that whatever's going to happen after this next approach is going to fall somewhere within that spectrum of experiences that you've already had, so you're no longer scared of. So I think that just volume, the more you go out, especially at the start, the more you're going to be associate the next interaction with something in the middle of that spectrum as opposed to worst case scenario.
I mean, it's like any other skill in the life. Like, it all takes time and effort. I mean, like, how long it took you to learn how to walk? Like months. Like you're failing on the floor. Like, so like anything, languages, like it's all volume. It's all, go there, try it, fail, but learn. The key point is here to learn from the mistakes. Sit down, analyze them, and assume they're going to happen again, and come up with solutions, how you're going to solve it out next time it happens. Assume everything is a pattern, and it is. Everything what happens in the approach, it's going to happen again. For sure.
I think a lot of guys have been this person their entire life. So when you've been somebody who's been shy, who's been terrible with girls your entire life, it's hard to change that ego or that character because you want to stay consistent with past action. So a lot of getting good with girls, if that's the topic we're talking about improving with women. Is that kind of what the
okay, go with it. Rejection.
Okay, so action feeds ego feeds action. And if you're somebody that is trying to get better with women, first and foremost, you have to start approaching. Sam's right in this 100%. You got to just get yourself out there, but you got to also merge it with quality of effort. Quality of effort being writing field reports, asking questions. I actually thought it was really interesting what said about he has a questionnaire or that he has girls fill out, or he has a way of like being able to ask women. That's interesting. You have to get proper feedback. You got to be taking actions. And if you're somebody in their mom's basement, I mean, first and foremost, you got to start actually approaching and then add critical thinking. Because if you're that guy who's going out approaching for 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years, I know some guys who come to me and they say, I've been approaching for 10 years and I've never gotten any results. I don't think the shit works. I'm like, have you been doing the same approach? Yes. Have you been doing the same, have you been the same person your entire life? Yes. Well, then how the fuck are you going to get different results? It's ridiculous. Of course, if you do the same thing every day, you go out and approach, people build up bad habits. And if you're somebody that's going out doing the same thing every day, you're going to build a habit of approaching in a certain way. And then you're going to get an ego about it. And it's going to be hard for a coach to later fix that problem. You become like you get stuck in a certain train of thinking. So you have to add critical thinking to the mix. If you add critical thinking, put a pen to paper, thinking about what can I possibly do right? I usually think about 2 different ways. One, there's a person that if he was in my body would be getting better results than me. Who's that guy and how would he do things differently? Number 2, if I could relive this night over again, as if it was, you guys know the movie Groundhog Day? Anybody ever heard of it?
The movie? Yeah.
Yeah. He lives the same day over and over and over. And as the time goes on, he starts living that day better and better and better. If you could relive tonight differently, how would you do it differently? If you could go talk to that girl again, if you could talk to, maybe there's a girl you didn't say hi to, what was the mindset that stopped you from approaching her? Were you at any point nervous or anxious? What was the mindset that caused that? What was the thing that caused the downward spiral? If you got into the zone, got into a great headspace that allowed you to be very social, extroverted, masculine, dominant, what was that thought process? What caused you to get there, and can you replicate it?
Yeah. Guys, I got a dip as well, but it's been a real pleasure. Marcus, nice to meet you. Daniel, good to meet you. Denton, good to talk again, man. And thanks, Ice, for putting it on.
No worries. Thanks for coming.
Cheers, guys. Take care.
Pleasure, bro.
Bye.
Let me add one more thing here. Okay, just 3 of us. As well, it's about the way I see it, and I'm seeing it more and more recently, is you need to look from her perspective as well. You guys talk a lot about what you as a player, what you what you have to do, but it all basically decision making comes from her end. Okay, so it's like, how is she perceiving you? That's that part needs to be aware. What in all that communication, what does a girl knows about you? What kind of image she's building in her head? If you can control that, you're controlling the whole game process. You're controlling her decision-making process. If you're controlling what she thinks about you through your actions, the words, and non-verbal and verbal communication, it's like
does the girl thinks you're dominant, confident, like, and that's what I usually tell the guys, okay, like, after each approach, write down what does this girl knows about you, who are you, okay, like, and then try to that list add each, okay, let she thinks that you are funny, okay, then like, next approach, try to control that she thinks you're intelligent, that you are successful, that this, so, and then eventually you learn how to portray whole attractive man who is like dominant, confident, travels, interesting, lifestyle, takes care of himself, blah blah blah, okay, like, because that's actually what you want to install in her mind, who the fuck you are, because if that image is correct, she will go along, because like, it's kind of standardized what is attractive man today, and that's kind of all what it needs to be portrayed. Shy guys, introvert guys, they suck at basically conveying, because they don't give any information. So a girl doesn't know anything about them. And so basically, it's really a big part of the game. And that's kind of what all we coaches, basically what all we guys are good with women, we control perception of what the girls think about us in the conversation. I know, okay, if I want her to think that I'm confident, I'm going to do this. If I want her, basically, if I'm missing trust, I'm going to do this. If I want to think that I'm successful or have a social value or something, I'm going to do this or that. And it all comes down. So basically, the whole game is learning to control that attractive image. Crickets.
Yeah, well said. Agreed. Sorry, I'm lagging. I'm lagging like crazy. So I don't know when you actually finish speaking. But yeah, no, I agree. Everything's perception. That's it. And so a part of it that I view it two ways, right? One is actually having the value, right? You can't create the perception of you traveling a lot if you've never fucking traveled before, right? So one is actually developing the value. That's why I like Bad Boy when you said before, like writing it down, like making it clear, because guys just sit on two sides of these spectrums oftentimes. One is they have all this value. Like I had a student who he flew fucking helicopters and he never mentioned it to us or the girl until like the end of the program. I'm like, motherfucker, you have a helicopter? Like, why would you never say that? And then there's other guys that have no value and are desperately trying to show it somehow. And it's like, these are the guys that need to move out of their parents' basements. They need to get a job. They need to travel a little bit. They need to actually develop a little bit of value first before they start to demonstrate it. So yeah. I agree. Perception's everything. Create the value and then learn how to create that perception. Yeah,
it's about two things. Create the product, have an amazing product, work on the product, be that guy. And then marketing, learn how to sell it. Lots of guys come to me like, rich guys. I mean, I'm sure you guys have it as well, like, successful rich guys, but they are, they don't know how to convey this. Like, they're amazing guys. But, when you put them in a stressful situation as a nightclub, as a street or something, they panic, they show different personality, like, or like, they turn shy, like, and fidgety and nervous, like, so it's not conveying. So it really is about controlling all of that, basically being that guy and then show it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I think you show more things non-verbally than verbally, personally. I think the way you move and speak and the energy you have. So if you ever see like the cool guys in the club, they're not over here flashing their Gucci Prada purses. They're the more just having fun and being free. And whenever I see those guys, I think to myself, like, that's the energy that you should truly be showing. I think there's like two different styles of this. I think that, yes, you can like logically attract a girl with flying a helicopter. But in my experience, I mean, I do better when I don't tell girls shit about me. When I just like keep it to myself and just being playful, fun, focusing on the energy as opposed to focusing on the logical side of it. I think as guys, we're such logical creatures. We're very like directive, shooting for a goal. And a lot of guys, man, the DHV shit, I never DHV myself. If anything, I'll DHV my friends. I'll tell her how dope my friends are, but I never talk about myself. I mainly focus on the energy, being authentically cool, than I do about like anything else. I think that's more of an honest signal than like trying to tell a girl that something specifically.
So I agree partly with you here, right? Partly because I think you're really limiting yourself when you don't tell them these things. So yes, you can show a girl that you're very confident. You can show a girl that you're like very fun, interesting. I think a lot of girls will meet you, Denton, and like you come across even on this, like you seem like a chill, cool dude, right? But that gets you in my opinion, only so far, right? I can go up and be like very charismatic, like bring the group in, be yelling at someone else. And that is going to build a lot of attraction, 100%, and probably enough to like sleep with most girls. But I think you're really limiting yourself if I don't say, hey, by the way, and I run like an international company. And by the way, I'm a sex coach. And by the way, like
you just say that blatantly. You say that blatantly, like, so when you're in a conversation, it's like, oh, by the way,
I'm saying I'm saying like, I'm saying from a mindset point of view, I'm saying this isn't, I don't go, it probably works still, but I don't go, hey, by the way, hey, stop talking. Did you know?
Just to let you know, I make a lot of money. Check out my watch.
Yeah, just so you know. No, usually it's going to be baited, right? So I will say to the girl, like, I'm curious, what do you do? She'll be like, blah, blah, blah. Interesting. Do you like it? Yes. Yeah, hey, look, that's it's very different from what I do. She's going to say, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, even if I told you, you wouldn't fucking believe me. I guarantee it. She's like, tell me. And I'm like, you're not going to believe me. She's like, what do you do? I'm like, I'm a sex coach. No way. See, I told you you wouldn't believe. What do you do? I teach guys how to be dominant, blah, blah. So that value, when I display it,
2 hours later, you like, ask very her, charismatic. Do you believe me now?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's true. But you go from being like very charismatic, fun, interesting, entertaining, which is like the perception that Bad Boy was saying you give. But now when I say, by the way, I'm a sex coach, it creates a whole new perception. It creates more value on top of that. If you say, and by the way, and again, I'm not saying by the way, but and by the way, I fly helicopters, it adds to that level of perception being a cool, fun guy. Now they're like, oh, he's a bit of a fucking badass, right? So I think you need both. You can get away with probably just one of those, but I think if you want to like demonstrate the most amount of value, have the most amount of compliance, get the hottest girls you possibly can, I wouldn't limit myself with just subcoms or just like the logical answer, right? You need both.
So you're leading conversations in a smart way so that you target what she does, and then that you facilitate her asking you, because you can't rely on her asking you a specific question like, oh, do you fly helicopters? Because who the fuck's going to ask you that? So you have to like construct the conversation in a particular way.
And by the way, there's a framing to this too. Sorry, there's a framing to this too. You don't want to sound like fucking braggadocious, right? Like you don't want to say like, by the way, and I also have billions of dollars, right? So when girls ask about my travel, or I talk about my travel, I don't say like, yeah, I travel around the world, but I go, look, I'm so fortunate is the way I'm framing it. Or I will say like, look, it's tough. Sometimes I get a little bit homesick because I'm traveling around the world all the time, right? I go from like different cities, I'm running workshops, I'm meeting up with fans, like it's incredible, but sometimes like, fuck, I just miss home, right? So no girl's going to be like, are you braggy fucking douchebag when you talk about missing home, right? Or when you talk about how fortunate you are. So yes, there's like framing involved in this, there's like levels to this, but even for most students, like if you have a really cool job, tell the girl. If you've been traveling a lot, tell her. Like these are things that are going to be attractive to women. So I'd want to get it out there.
Okay, let me explain my thinking behind this. It's a little convoluted, but so women always have the strength in the beginning of the conversation, or like in the beginning of the dating scene. So women control the sex, which is the gate to dating a goal ultimately, which is, as a dating coach, I think we can all agree with this. Kind of, it's why a lot of the women don't like us. Understand this is hard for guys to get sex because they think that every guy's fucking everything under the sun. So whenever I'm talking to a girl, I want to get the sex out of the way. So then I can like present myself and be like, oh, by the way, I'm actually fucking dope. I'm not just like this fuck boy. I'm actually pretty sick. Like I got this cool lifestyle around me and I got all these amazing friends and awesome. And so I focus more, I think it's my style of game, or my style of how I do things. I want to get that shit out of the way. And if I throw at the girl how awesome I am, sometimes the girls will start self-judging and they'll start overthinking. They'll put you on the 3-date route as opposed to maybe being more free and flowing and not self-judging. And when they don't self-judge, they're more likely to have sex with you, be authentic with you, let you know who they are. So you actually can realize as a man if you like her. Like I'm very picky about the girls I even sleep with nowadays. And if I come across as too polished, the girl's going to say to herself, oh, I need to come across as polished too, because this guy's out of my league on some level. And so I try to come across firstly more as a player. Then I present, I'm like, oh, by the way, I'm boyfriend material after we get the sex out of the way.
Yeah, I think what you might be touching on is like attainability issues. So if you have a lot of value, for example, like when girls find out, when I run all my DHVs, travel around the world, international business, sex coach, being with a bunch of girls, like when I run this shit, or I'm like showing messages of like fucking hot Ukrainian girls blowing up my phone, being like, I want to meet you right now. Like, girls are going to feel often a little bit insecure. You might have like attainability issues here where they might be thinking like, okay, am I just another girl? Like, do you even want like anything more with me? You might even get like one night stand concerns. So you need to balance your value oftentimes. And this is more of an advanced issue, right? But like when you are displaying a lot of value, girls might put you in the frame of, oh, I want to make him my boyfriend, or, oh, maybe he's just like, he could fuck anyone, why me? And this is what girls actually say, like, why me? So I think to counterbalance that, you do need to show like a level of interest on the girl. Like sometimes it is good to be like, fuck, hey, do you know what? You're exactly my type. Holy shit. Like, yeah, I could have any girl in this club, but there's just something about you, right? Like you do need to show some interest oftentimes to counterbalance that. But I think that's a good problem to have, right? It's a good problem to have when you have too much value.
I think that, I mean, there's so many different ways to build attraction with a girl. And so I call what you're talking about logical attraction. It's more, this is what I should logically want, which is good for building a bridge in long-term relationships. But when I'm out gaming, I focus very much on what I call emotional attraction, which is the way you move. Is like,
sorry, what's logical? Can you define logical attraction for you?
Logical attraction is like,
yeah.
Oh, sorry, bro.
Logical, materialistic or what? Like, you know,
logical attraction in my head is her past trauma. So she doesn't want to play her because it's because she's been traumatized by guys that act a certain way. So when you're the guy that goes and approaches multiple girls in a club or venue, imagine everybody here's approached a girl in front of another girl, and the other girl starts throwing a fit, even though she's talking to other guys. It's because she has trauma around a guy that's like that. Or like society and her friends say, you should date a guy like this. You should date a guy that's 6'4". You should date a guy that is boyfriend material, but then they're not viscerally attracted to it all the time, not on a biological level. So to me, emotional attraction is more biological attraction. Like, yes,
I just need to clarify. So logical attraction to you is basically like communal beliefs about what girls should be attracted to, but not what would they really attracted to. So for example, the community might say, hey, you should find a nice guy. And girls are like, look, I don't want a fucking nice guy. Is that what you mean by logical attraction?
That's part of it.
Yeah, I don't think anyone should be displaying logical attraction under that definition then. Like, I wouldn't want to try focus on like what community standards might be like telling. I want to focus on like what this girl is actually going to be attracted to, right? Like, that's what I want to hit on.
As a species, I mean, we're communal. We're made to be in a tribe. And if the tribe says this is the guy you should be going for, there is some kind of moniker where that's going to matter. So if you supposedly want a guy with a six-pack, because, you know, like you see Brad Pitt having a six-pack looking awesome, in great shape, you're gonna be more like, but in times like ancient Greece, they wanted fat guys. I mean, there's a portion of it where it matters.
But they actually wanted fat guys, right? Like, we're talking about false communal beliefs right now. We're talking about the beliefs that don't hold true to what the girl actually likes. So back in like Greek times or whatever, like communal.
If you separate experience, no, you're fine, man. Sorry for interrupting you.
No, I got lag. So you're right.
No, you're good. If you separate experience and tribal norms, that's logical, and emotional is like what on a deep level women are viscerally attracted to. They're attracted to very specific things. And as a woman experiences her culture, her traumas, I mean, if you can look across culture, like what are women always attracted to, regardless of their traumas and their culture? And that's what I focus on. That's and it's like there's no Gucci watches or helicopters back in the day of like tribes and Neanderthals.
I would disagree here, though. I would disagree. Like, yeah, they didn't have like helicopters, right? But it's like viscerally, what do they get attracted to about the helicopter? So anyone that flies a helicopter is probably adventurous, probably open to experience, probably not going to be. They're probably going to be a little bit disagreeable. They're going to be higher in the social hierarchy. Like, all these things, women are viscerally attracted to. They're probably a little bit more dominant as well. So I think we need to think about like
competent too.
Actually
competent. Yeah, correct.
Well, that's actually those traits you just described are actually the emotional attraction side that I focus on. So you said dominant can be disagreeable.
Okay, guys, stop. Let's agree. Let's create a list. Okay, let's create a list. Dominant.
No, I think it's just a definition problem here. You're basically saying,
yeah,
Yeah, we agree on this,
Okay.
right? So we're saying, okay, how do we hit on these visceral, emotional points where girls are like super attracted to the deep core? How do we get to these points? How do we make them feel this way? And what Denton's saying is like, I do that through a lot of my subcoms, right? I do it for being like a cool guy, from being like charismatic, from doing this. And I'm saying, yeah, that's great. I completely agree with that. I think you can also hit these deep, visceral points with actually telling them values about themselves. The girls will relate to these deep points. So when I tell a girl I'm a sex coach, they're not logically going, oh, sex coach, tick, this is my book. What she's thinking is, oh my God, he's going to ragdoll me. He's going to throw me around the fucking room. He's going to tie me up, right? It's hitting those deep emotional points as well. So I think there's like two different ways to get there. I think both are great, is basically what I'm saying. And Denton's saying that he essentially focuses more on like the more subcom side of ways to get there. I think.
I mean,
correct me
it
if I'm
all
wrong,
comes
but I
down
feel
to
like
emotions
that's
on the end. Even
the
like, you know,
difference.
you having money,
Yeah, of
like, you know,
course.
it's all like, you know, it's again emotional, right? Like, you know, so everything is
agreed.
emotional on the end of the day. Like, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Everything's gonna be visceral, emotional. Yeah.
Well, hey, bro, I think honestly, I love and I think that your company's fucking fire. But I don't know. I think all right. So I think there's multiple ways to boil an egg, or you know, make an egg, make an omelet. Um, I'm like I think about so many guys like try to do the dumb shit where they pull out their wallet and, oh my God, I dropped my Magnum condom, and they fucking slowly check it out. So, I mean, like, you know, whatever, or they'll try to like throw down a bunch of money trying to press the girl that like. I think it's just so clairvoyant to women nowadays because it's a strategy most guys try to take on, and it's always the creepy motherfuckers. And
no, I
so,
agree. It's a skill set, right? I agree. Like there's guys that try DHV and they sound fucking horrible. I'm thinking of Mystery, right? Like this is a clear example. I think there's guys that try DHV and they sound like fucking losers, right? Because they're DHVing with horrible subcoms. So they're sitting in the club like, excuse me, I travel a lot and this is my job. And they talk for like fucking 10 minutes on some monologue. So you do need amazing subcoms while you do this. If you don't, then it's not going to show anything, right? You can say I fly a helicopter, but if you say it while you're not looking at her, you say it in a quiet voice, and you say it while like fidgeting, then she's not going to attribute those qualities that we spoke about before, which like dominance, like high social status. She's going to think you're a little bitch that happens to fly a helicopter. So yeah, I agree. Like you need, this is a skill set. You need to be able to do it in a way that is more authentic to those qualities. You need it with good subcoms, and you need to frame it in a way that doesn't sound like you're bragging. So I get where you're coming from here 100%. Like it's useless without the good subcoms, of course.
All right, let's move on to another thing. Game is a constant journey. It doesn't matter if it's meeting women or making progress in a relationship. What's something you guys have learned only recently, or something you think about recently? So just an example of Dan a few weeks ago, not so long ago, he was thinking about the attraction pyramid. I remember you were saying. So Dan knows what I'm talking about. But do any of you guys have, I know you have been in this for however many years individually, anything you have learned recently?
Fuck, recently. I feel like I'm always finding tiny little things. The thing that I'm probably learning most of all recently is being more from like coaching point of views, to be honest, right? So I think like I went through a journey in like game where I went from, you know, you go through the stages, you learn to get over AA, you learn to build attraction, you learn to deal with like objections, all shit like this. Then, you know, learning relationship management we spoke about before, learning like sexual competency, going through all those stages. I think like where I am at personally in game is now like really narrowing in on like the coaching side of things, because that's a whole nother skill set in itself. So it's like small nuances on, okay, how do people respond best to the feedback that I'm giving them? Like, should I be pushing them harder? Should I hold back? Do I need to dive deeper into mindsets for them? Like all things like this. But I mean, otherwise a lot of the game shit, the little light bulb moments come across a lot less often once I think with any skill that you spend so much time on and kind of mastering away.
Dan?
I would say I'm opposite, like, you know, from that, like, you know, like after 20 years in a game, like, you know, really, like, you know, every time, like, you know, I'm coaching a new guy as well, like, you know, or like, you know, I'm like doing something, it's like something like some new level, something opposite, but really like on it was in front of me, like, because my brain is crazy. I see fucking diagrams, I see formulas nonstop, like, you know, when I'm like, you know, doing stuff and talking with girls. So it's just kind of, like humor is this plus that, like, you know, so yes, it's I don't know, like, like for example, the attraction thing, like, or basically I was having a coffee and one afternoon, I'm like, fuck, like, I see it, like, finally after 20 years, I see the whole attraction, like, pyramid in front of me, like, all possible ways how you can, kind of do it. I'm like, is it everything what guys been talking about, energy, personality, energy, like, then like seduction tools, blah, 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 so like all the way up to like, to the bullshit that society is telling. So yes, I keep learning. I would say my latest shift was more based conversation and attraction based on her needs. Okay. So not like, from, okay, what I want, like, but more, okay, let's go first when you approach and basically whole, maybe like, let's say whole approach and cold approach more, because I mean, that's what sales is like, what kind of sandwich do, you're not going to buy sandwich that you're not going to eat, or the food or something. You'll buy something close to what basically what you had on your mind, what you want to eat. So trying to find her needs in a conversation and say it, I'm that guy. But really starting from digging into her needs in a conversation in a very nice, like I would say, subtle way, like in a conversation, to find out what kind of guy she would actually want to buy, and then like, go. I mean, of course, attraction, what they search in a man is pretty much 80% from girl to girl is always the same, but it's 20% adjustment from girl to girl is really like, what's getting the girl.
I like that answer. What kind of questions would you ask to investigate that?
I mean, it's very subtle, like, I'm trying to find she more into the spiritual, or she's more physical or emotional type, how she's responding to the touch, to physical, like, that. And then I go slowly, like, like you can even ask a girl, tell me, like, what's your ideal man? Like, what you're searching for, like, like you can even go full direct. It's like, this is my type of girl, like, what you're searching for. Like, and then, she will not always, but like, she'll point the direction where you want to go, like, and then I'm usually testing a little bit of like, dominance, how she's, because it's all feedback, how she's responding to my touch, stronger, softer, like lots of little testing, but actually in the end, the profile comes out. Okay. Like she wants to, she wants this guy.
I like that. Yeah, I think that's super advanced, is like figuring out the archetype of the girl.
So basically, what, and I would say that's kind of what my breakthrough is like, instead of lots of guys, they're running static game. They always run the same fucking game. Okay. Like, it's static attraction, static game. I move to the dynamic, really like, figure out what are her needs, what she wants to buy, what kind of guy she wants tonight, and then be that guy. Because we all can be. You can be nice guy. You can be like, badass, like, dominant, and the whole spectrum of that, like, so it's all you.
Yeah, I like that. Asking girls like, what's your type? What was her ex like? If she's like, my ex was a toxic, manipulative asshole, then I'm probably going to be a little bit of an asshole. Like, I think that's good. As you said, like 80% of the time, like your static game will work on 80% of women, right? But it's like these archetypes of girls, like, the brats, for example. If you have a very bratty girl, you have to be able to understand how to actually work that archetype. Otherwise, you're never going to fuck her. So yeah, I love that idea. Like finding out exactly what the girl's actually into and then being able to demonstrate that. It's really cool.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I do basically when I'm coaching guys. Like, I give them the list of the whole basic attraction list of like, 20, 30 traits that you should have, and you need to figure out how to display it. You need to be that guy, confident, dominant, like, you need to be able to show it, be it and show it. Like, and then you pick and choose in the conversation what she wants, what she needs. Perfect. So basically, it's approach tailor-made for her.
So you're talking about calibrating, right?
Oh yes, it's all about calibration. Like, I'm like,
Yeah, but more in a sense, I think when guys hear, like people listening, when they hear calibration, they're probably thinking about compliance and non-compliance. It's like, oh, the girl's not really compliant to me. I need to like shift things up. This is even, I think, for girls that like, if I go up and the girl's like interested and compliant, it's now more archetypical is like to think about it, right? It's like figuring out, even if she's into me, figuring out exactly what she wants still. So yeah, I guess it's probably a form of calibration, but I think people hearing that probably associate it with something else.
All right, I feel like I keep being disagreeable, so I'm sorry, guys.
No.
That's okay.
Here's on that one. I'm the one, I guess, in this one. So I don't know. I don't think you should always calibrate. Sometimes, like I think as a man, you should be in your purpose and your path. And sometimes girls find that sexy. Girls will bend to me personally. Not always. I mean, I do calibrate still. I'm not socially inept, but it's like almost like a balancing act. It's you sometimes, yeah, you like if I do hear a girl where all of her exes were assholes, I know that I need to turn up the asshole knob a little bit. Yeah. But in a certain case too, like I mean, like if I talk to a girl, my ultimate idea is that I want to be daddy. I want her to look at me in a way to where it's like I'm the one that is deciding how the world should work. And then my frame is so strong that she falls into it. I mean, certain things I don't fucking like, I don't lean into. And I do realize that different types of guys do attract different types of girls based on that. And I do calibrate it a little bit, but it's a little bit of a balancing act. I mean, I don't know if this is exactly what you're talking about, by the way. Dan, right?
Yeah, no, it's okay. I mean, but it all depends, like, on what kind of game. And this is, I wouldn't say hit and miss, is more hit than miss. Yes, with a strong personality, they will bend, and they have like a female sort of tendency to kind of glue and be like, frame into you, like, because they are weaker and everything. You froze, by the way, and at least on my computer, like, but when it comes to like, more, dynamic game, like, it is like, more, it is more calibrating towards like, or choosing what kind of guy you're gonna present yourself to her, like, a little bit more cautiously, like, than just kind of being like, that. I mean, even that approach, kind of more old school alpha male, that, my way or highway, it will work.
I think this is a better way to think about it, right? Instead of thinking,
like, well, sorry, man, go for it.
No, yeah, I was just going to elaborate on that answer, right? Because I think this will help. I think instead of thinking about it in terms of, okay, I'm just going to do whatever the girl likes, right? I was just like, whatever I think she's going to be into, I'm just going to like change to that and like pander to it. I think that's the wrong way to look at it. I think there's different versions of me. Okay. There's a different version of me when I fucking am with my friends, when I'm with girls, when I'm fucking, when I'm on this like panel. There's different versions of me. All of those versions are always going to be true to myself. They're always going to be the dominant version of myself. They're always going to be like standing by all my values. It's always going to be me every single time. So when I'm with a girl, right, I might have, to put it like very simply in binary, there might be like a tantrum Marcus and a like fucking daddy Dom Marcus, right? So if I'm with a girl and she's like, look, I like sex to be like very teasing and slow and a real build up, then I'm going to be tantrum Marcus. I'm still going to be I'm still going to be in charge. I'm still going to be leading. I'm still going to have my values, but I'm going to like calibrate to that. Or if a girl's like, listen, I'm a little brat, I need to be punished, then I'm getting out my fucking whip and I'm beating the shit out of this girl. Now, again, it's still like me. I'm not like pandering to her. So I agree with Denton. Like, you don't like, if a girl's like, oh, I really like surfers, I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, I love to surf. Surfing's like my favorite thing in the world. Oh my God, blah, blah. I think it's more like fundamental level about like the emotional triggers you're talking about before, Denton. Like, which one of these am I really going to try hit? So I'd ask myself, why does she like surfers? Okay, maybe like what she really likes is a guy that is like chill and doesn't take life too seriously. So I might start demonstrating those aspects. Does that help with our answer, maybe?
Well, I think I don't know. I think we might be honestly talking about different things. I mean,
let's move on. Next topic, boss.
Okay, yeah, let's go for it.
Actually, can I throw a couple things in there real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, never mind. Here, go for it. Next topic.
You're so disagreeable, dude. Okay.
That's why we like him.
Ironically, when does focusing too much on women become unhealthy? So less of a gamey one, but perhaps it's still important because there are guys out there who we have kind of touched upon this already. Denton especially touched upon this Groundhog Day, where I have also seen guys that have gone up day after day doing the same shit, doing day games, something like that. Years later, they're in the same fucking place. Nothing has changed. At what point does focusing on women become too much?
Yeah, I think this is for basically anything. When it starts to impact on your like daily function of life. Okay. So this goes for like gambling, drugs, whatever you want. Like if you're doing drugs, have a fucking great time. But if it stops you from like interacting with your friends, family, if it stops you from like having a job and moving out of home, then it's a problem. It's the same with game. If you're focusing on game so much that it affects like your male friendships, where you're not actually making any money, you're not developing as a man, you're not going to the gym anymore, you're getting fat, then it's a fucking problem. And you need to maybe focus on other parts of life. Otherwise, I don't have a problem with guys. Like I had a student just recently. He's retired now. He's made his money. He's done his thing. He's gaming pretty much every minute of his life. He's enjoying it. He's having a great time. Yo, do your thing, right? But just make sure it's not like impacting on your fucking life, right? I think that's the limit.
I'll just also add on to that. The guys who aren't here anymore, Alex and Justin, also made some great points. They said that Alex, for example, said when he was broke, he was ending up getting laid just as much as he is now. So that him focusing more on his business, and money is important, so you have to live. Whereas Justin said, yeah, he has a business to run, so there is that. So obviously, I think it's kind of like you have to still remember that you have to do certain things, such as have a job, have some kind of income stream, of course, handle the basics first. If you don't have the basics handled, you need to work on that. But it's not like you can do only one thing at a time, but you should at least be able to prioritize. But the rest of you guys, feel free to answer.
I would say it's like a gym. Okay, I mean, you work on your body, you work on your health, like on your physiques, like you go out train or run, whatever you do, like you don't need to gym become your life. I mean, you can go this way, but actually, there's a very easy formula to figure out, like like when over gaming or too much game becomes like a problem. Like it really comes down to results. If you're not getting results out from it, and you're investing, I don't know, 80% of your free time into it, and nothing comes out, get a coach. You're probably doing something wrong that you cannot fix by yourself. So get someone, hire someone, like not a friend, hire a professional, one of us, find someone like in your city, in your country, like so who is going to help you, point you out, you're doing this and this wrong. Like probably it's going to take us, for guys who've been training, coaching 20 years, it's going to take like 3 minutes, something you're going to take like 5 years to figure out. So it really comes down, like are you kind of like, time is valuable, like so like really, like be smart with your time. If you're investing, it's like a black hole. If you're investing into the growth and nothing comes out, you're just getting flakes and wrong numbers and rejections, probably you are doing something seriously wrong. You are presenting yourself in a wrong way. You are selling a sandwich that no one wants to buy.
Just to throw in a quote, Albert Einstein, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Like, this is a very famous quote, but if you don't realize this when it comes to game, you need to actually make changes or nothing will change. You can't just expect to do the same fucking thing. You have to make those adaptations.
The problem are the neural connections in the brain. Okay, if you really want to go deeper on, like on the brain and science, like like everything what we do is pretty much automatic. Why? Because the neural pathways has been created in the brain, and you always like accessing those same neural pathways. Same thing, when you sit on a computer, you write email, it's gonna be just it's automatic. Like you take the phone, you call someone, it's automatic. Like whatever you do, basically with like what 20-30 years of your life, you created these neural pathways in your brain, and you just kind of navigating through them. You're using same ones over and over again, like so. And especially with a game, like you are doing it, and basically it's always the same stuff. You're always presenting same personality, you're always like saying same things. Results will be the same. 1 + 1 will always be 2. So definitely, if you want to change something, there needs to be some kind of a change.
All right. What about you, Disagreeer Denton?
So I was actually, okay. So I used to be the guy who used to go out 7 days a week for years. I've been in this now for about 12, and I realized how stupid I was about this because the self is always coming through. And if you don't believe in yourself, you don't have a lifestyle around you that's not feeding that energy or that badass nature. I mean, you're going to suffer. So I actually nowadays, sometimes if a client's going or is going out way too much and he doesn't have a lifestyle around him, I tell him, stop going fucking out so much. Go out 2 days a week. You've been going out 6 days a week. You live in your van. It's time to start working on your lifestyle because you got to believe in yourself too. If you're not somebody that has skill sets, something else built outside of this shit, if you're going out all the time and you haven't worked in your life, yeah, I mean, to be fair, you can somehow brainwash yourself to believe in yourself, but it's a lot easier if you actually are the guy too. If you can if you're spending so much time in a game where it's making your lifestyle and your life in general, your money, your family, your friends, those things that feed you, you're not going to believe in yourself. And it's going to be hard for you to actually talk to girls in a way that's authentic, that has any retention. So you have to actually build a lifestyle around you too that doesn't. If your game is bleeding into that and it's fucking up your life, you need to stop going out so much. You actually need to pull back a little bit. Which, to be fair, I think most people going out, like most people watching this, and most people that I've seen nowadays, almost nobody's going out. So I don't think most of the guys will be watching this are going out too much. It's very rare that I actually talk to a client that's doing that.
Yeah, and let anyone else.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just want to say, kind of a very important part on building the lifestyle. Game is one part of the puzzle. Just like, in a fitness, there's like a nutrition, it's not just kind of working out. I mean, if you work out and you eat shit, nothing is going to happen with your body. So same thing with the game, like building the interesting lifestyle. Social circle, friends, have your home where you live, you're independent, kind of having I don't know, nice bedroom, whatever, like investing into all of that, learning languages, traveling, because eventually you want to bring that girl from the street, from the club into that life. If your life smells, if your apartment smells, sucks, it's not attractive, you're a boring person, of course this girl will leave, will find someone else. There's plenty of cool guys out there. So don't create, don't just kind of create an amazing game to bring the girls back to your apartment. Make sure basically that girl, once she comes into your life, there are reasons for her to stay in life. And that's kind of what lifestyle is, eat well, I don't know, dress well, invest into perfumes, into yourself, decorate your apartment, social circle, friends, workout, body. There are many, many puzzles in the whole lifestyle, and game is just one of them.
Alrighty. So there are 4 coaches here right now. Do any of you guys have questions for the rest of us?
You out of questions?
I still got a few questions, but I think it's probably best to save them for next time.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I got no questions. I don't know about you boys.
Any questions from you guys for any of us?
I have no idea.
Or perhaps okay, let's say okay, is dating in 2023 easier than it was 2010 or even 5 years ago, or is it harder?
Easier. I think it's both easier and harder. Sorry, bro.
No, I didn't think anyone was answering, so I was gonna jump in. Go for it, bro.
Well, I think that there's a lot of things like dating apps and Instagram has changed a lot of shit. And I think that's obviously the biggest thing with a lot of us. The internet has given more access to the top quality guys for women. So a lot of the guys at the bottom are suffering utterly. I think it's like one third of guys in their 20s are virgins. I think that's a new statistic it came out with, which is fucking unreal. And it's because all the other guys, the guys at the very top, are getting sex. So if you can be that guy who can get to that top 5 to 1%, dude, it's fucking cake. It's amazing. But it takes very specific knowledge now, whereas before I feel like there was a lot less need for a coach, maybe about 10 plus years ago, before the internet became such a big fucking deal. And so whenever I deal with guys, there's a very specific set of knowledge that I know, for dating apps or for how to use Instagram or how to pull girls in through this and how to maximize your cold approach game, like I do a lot of social circle now in my cold approach. When I talk to a girl and I'm just not into her, or it's like just a friend, I friend zone her and I use her for later for pre-selection. Or I'll invite her to a party. Like me and my friends there throw parties now, and we utilize this to network. There's a lot of stuff now that does matter. I mean, the same fundamentals of games still matter. The same things that used to attract girls still attract girls. It's just now there's a lot of competition, and all the girls are fighting for the top guys. And you got to find out how to be that top guy. Once you get there, honestly, it's easy. But it is going to be a lot of work for everybody. I think there's maybe a little bit more buried entry for some things, but cold approach actually for me has been easier than fucking ever, and it's been easier for me. Yeah, no guys approach anymore. A lot of guys
I
are
agree.
places.
I would say it's easier because of that. Like, like no one does cold approach anymore. Like, girls are super, super, I would not friendly, but like, it's different. And I can totally compare it because I have a private collection of my student approach. I probably have like 200 hours. I usually record, I put microphones, like, I record all my clients. And basically we record all their conversations, analyze them. So basically I have like around like 200 hours over the last like probably 10, 15 years. And looking at conversation that, that got you laid like 10 years ago and looking what gets you laid now, it's much easier. Really,
well, sorry.
Sorry?
Does anybody remember the RSD era back in like 2012 where like you go to the club and you approach a girl after you've been approached by a dozen guys and you're now competing those dozen guys, not even just pickup artists, like actually just normal guys who are just cool. Nowadays, like you approach a girl, you likely you're the first guy to talk to her all night. Even in Vegas, out here in Vegas, obviously it's kind of like it's a great place to go and approach. You think that more guys out here be approaching. Every time I go to a new city, everybody's soft. Everybody's getting so cowardly about saying hi to a girl because society doesn't want you to. And it's like, I think being part of being a man is like pushing against society and deciding, I don't give a fuck, I'm gonna approach her anyways, but nobody's doing it. Cold approach is so fucking easy.
I would say golden age for game or pickup is yet about to come in like 5 years from now.
Massively agree. I agree.
It's gonna be like, the thing, like, so the more people go online, the more people go on dating apps, Instagram, the more, the better it works on streets and clubs, and like, the better it is.
Yeah, so the way I think about it is like when you see it like that, it's like there are two universes, there are two worlds. There's the virtual world and there's the physical world. And there are so many people fixated on their phones. They're going on Instagram, Facebook, Tinder. They're on the virtual world, which, that's not a bad thing. I use Tinder. I love Tinder. It worked out for me. Absolutely use those things to your advantage. But there are millions of people using Tinder, but there aren't necessarily millions of people socializing on the streets in a way like this. And by doing so, you just automatically separate yourself from everyone else.
Yeah. That's what I did, like, 10, 15 years ago. Basically, I sat down and I'm like, okay, what is the hardest, that was in the peak of what everybody was doing when, like, RSD and Mystery, we're all like ruling the world, like, like I was like, what no one is gonna do? Like, which situation they will never approach? And I was like, okay, table approaches, 3 girls sitting on a table, coffee, restaurant. So I went and mastered that, like, I had no competition. No, they were approaching like, bars, clubs, things. I was approaching like, girls in Starbucks, coffee shops, restaurants, like, like super hard situations where, like, kind of where everybody was afraid of. Basically, it literally had no competition. And that's how I feel like, day game today is like, it really is like, or, club game. And like there are more and more people, because they are so much in the virtual world, they're afraid to, to talk, to connect, and basically this, again, social and emotional intelligence.
You know what? That just gave me an idea. So I know from the conversations I had with you before that your mind is absolutely brilliant. What if we put together like a day game cheat sheet? Just random draft name. So for example, you mentioned like the hardest places to approach because people don't want to approach in those environments. So maybe we could categorize, not now, but for viewers at a later point, it will be amazing to come up with like a document that has a categorization of easiest to hardest. You
already
already
have
okay? Damn, you're way ahead of me.
it. Yeah, I will send you.
There we go.
I
Yeah, I
think
think you spoke on this a little bit, right? I swear you said there's different categories here. And I think, yeah, look, a third of guys are fucking virgins in their 20s, but it's been like that for a while. I think it peaked like a few years ago and then it's like come back down a little bit. But yeah, I think it depends. If you're online, it's gotten much harder, right? You're like 9-to-1 ratios on some of the apps. Like guys are getting better photos now. It's going to be harder on Tinder than it was many years ago. Cold approach probably got it easier. I think since lockdown, everyone became scared to go outside or even like fucking socially anxious to approach. So I've noticed there's a lot less than to say mass approaching the club. But either way, like I think I look at the two categories as guys that are like actively improving themselves and guys that aren't. So if you're in that category that is not, then yeah, you're going to struggle. There's less warm spaces. There's less meeting people through like natural courses, let's call it. So you're going to fucking struggle. Okay. But if you're someone that, as we mentioned, even if you're using Tinder and you've got good photos now and you've got like a somewhat of like text principles going, you're going to get laid. If you're going out and cold approaching, as Bad Boy mentioned, now's the time to do it, right? Like there's no one fucking going out. So this is your time to shine. And simply just being that category of guys that are like trying to improve, you're always going to be in much better position than the guys that aren't. So I wouldn't worry about if it's gotten better or what. Who gives a fuck, right? You're in the category of guys that are like going out there and doing it. You're going to get laid.
I've actually been really consistent with getting guys results on dating apps. I haven't seen it yet to where the guys are starting to catch on to the whole. Like I think guys are so most guys are so socially, sorry for the word, autistic, to where like they don't realize that something so simple as like a facial expression of photo can raise the value or the way that you look to the girl by like on a scale out of 3 out of 10. Like, so if the photo otherwise be a 9, if you have like a apologetic smile, it's going to really affect the way that girls react to that photo. And that's something that most guys are never going to pick up or ever even understand, because we're stuck in this very logical way where as us as men, we're very visual. We don't understand that women are not so visual. Women care about status way fucking more than we do. I don't give a fuck if a girl is like a CEO at a company. I don't care how, like, if a girl is like friends with fucking like Drake. I mean, that'd be cool, but it doesn't make me more attracted to her. To me, I'm like, when I think like guys, I think actually they're way behind the curve. I think it's going to take another 5-10 years for guys to figure this shit out. There's specific knowledge that if you know, because guys are in such a victim mentality nowadays where they hate women subtly, they bitch about it online, they complain about how women have it so much fucking easier, not understanding that women live in this alien dating life from us. They have it pretty hard too. But it's in a very alien way in such that it's hard for us to understand because we live our lives the same way that it'd probably be alien for one of you guys to live in my body. It'd be like living through my lens of reality. It'd be hard for you guys to understand. And I don't think guys understand that. They think that women are visually attracted only and solely, and that's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. It's so stupid for people to fucking think that. There's nothing to say that. Like, it's obvious that women are different. Why would people assume that it's different in any other way? Which I'm glad they think that. Makes it easier for us and all the people that come to us. Anybody who wants to get results, dude, it's like, I hope those fucking losers never figure this out, because then it's gonna be more competition for the rest of us. Like, we're not being compared, in isolation, being compared in like to each other. Like, if you ever go to a club where there's more girls than there are guys, the girls are going to be a lot more likely to be attracted to you because they're comparing you not in a vacuum, but to every other guy in that venue. If the other guys do figure this shit out, which they never will, these guys are all fucking red pillars and crying in the rooms, masturbating to like, I don't know, Pamela Anderson, saying like, fuck that bitch, but man, she's so hot. And like never like truly figuring this shit out. And honestly, I hope that guy never does. Because like it makes it easier for the guys that truly want this shit and deserve it. The guys are willing.
I would say let's conclude this question like, guy with no approaching, like, anxiety, who can approach with a basic game, can today have more success than 5-10 years. So yes, I would say, like, if you're comparing to some level of the game, he can approach, he can talk, this guy can get laid today much faster than like, 5-10 years ago. So yes, dating.
It's a lot more knowledge though that a guy needs to compile. Yes. And actually, I think there's more need for a dating coach than ever before, because the amount of information you need to understand the shit is very specific. Yeah, like
there's a more and more unwritten rules and like, social dynamics, like, what's wrong, what's not wrong, that they need to understand. Yes, that's true.
Yeah, I merge all this stuff together. I like to try like make it as cohesive as humanly possible. So I merge my dating apps with my Instagram, with my social circle, with my cold approach. When I'm cold approaching, I'm building my social circle. I'm also using my dating apps to pull in like, so I'll take like a hot girl to maybe a spot where a lot of people know me. I call it putting a girl on parade. I'll take that hot girl, and all the girls that know me there will see me there with a hot girl. And I take maybe a different hot girl there every week. It's a very specific spot I go to, and I use it to build a social circle so we can throw parties every other week at my boy's mansion. And then we use that to like, we'll maybe have like a 8-10 ratio of girls to guys. And then like through that, then we can build it up again. And yeah, I think it's just the game needs to change a little bit in certain ways. I think cold approach fucking like is killer. It's better than ever before, but you can turn it up even more by adding certain aspects to it. And if you know how to run your dating apps in a way, like I've had so many the other dating coaches that I've taught this to, and they said that's bullshit. This can't possibly work. Then about 3 months later, they come to me and be like, oh my fucking God. Like it's so nuts. Dating apps are actually, I think, is an undervalued thing with certain people. Like us as dating coaches, I know a lot of you guys probably have your very specific things you're into, and some things you're like, fuck that shit. For me, like I used to be like that too. I don't know if anybody does, and there's some things I probably still do that about, but I try circle, dating apps, lifestyle, cold approach, very fucking big, and everybody wants to teach something different, saying that that's the number one thing and none of the other things matter. I think using those things in a cohesive structure is the best way to do this. And if you do that, dude, this 2023 is the best year to game if you're doing all that shit.
Yeah. Nice. So that was interesting because I know that Marcus, you had kind of a debate video kind of recently with Michael Sartain about social circle game. I know Denton, you're into social circle game, but you implement cold approach.
I know Michael personally. I think he does it. He actually ran into one of his clients about a week and a half ago, and this guy was talking to this gorgeous bombshell girl, and the girl's trying to pull me, but she also wants him too. He's acting like gay, and I'm thinking to myself, why is this guy gay? Because he's not trying to pull her. She likes him. She likes him. He's a cool guy. I'd rather him pull her because he probably needs it more. So I turned to him. I pulled him to the side. I'm like, are you gay? He goes, no, I'm part of MLN. I'm like, oh, Michael told you not to fuck anybody for a year. Dude, that's stupid. Here, just go fuck her. She's not going to talk to you again if you don't fuck her right now. So he pulled her home, and I was right. I just think Michael's been so like, it's a great marketing tactic because it's like, you don't have to go and talk to girls, get rejected. Oh no, yay. Yay, look, you don't have to go get rejected and get hurt. Yay, look, you can go through this entire system. And it's so stupid to approach anyways. Go saying hi to people and being extroverted.
What he's selling is validation. Let's be honest, right? He's selling validation. I wish I knew more about this before I went into the debate, because afterwards I had so many people hitting me up and saying, yo, I didn't get results, right? I was in his program. It didn't work for me. I had friends that didn't work for me. And he's like trying to spout this message like everyone kills it, everyone gets laid. And as I suspect, it's probably only the guys that are already good at game or already like really good with women that now build this like social circle around them, have some opportunity, access, and it goes well for them. But yeah, I agree. This whole idea of like fucking literally he's just selling validation. Guys get a party, all these girls fucking use them, they hang around them, they get some Instagram photos with the guys, the guy posts it up as a result saying, look at all these hot women around. By the way, he uses this as his results. Like, look at my students with hot women, none of them are getting fucking laid, they don't go anywhere with it. It's fucking awful. And yeah, it seems like a big marketing play, but yeah, that's why I'm not a fan of social circle unless you got your cold approach skills down.
Well, I like the guy as a person. I think he's actually dope as all fuck. And I'm friends of friends with him. And I know a lot of guys in his programs. His client's cold approach. I'm sorry. His client's cold approach. He tells them the cold approach. He just tells them not to fuck them. So they are cold approaching. So like him saying don't cold
it's
approach.
They're cold. I wouldn't call that cold approaching, right? Like that's like Alex was talking about sales, right? I guess you could call that cold approach, like knocking on people's doors and stuff. But like, unless you're actively trying to fuck the girl, then I don't really see it as like the same skill set, right? Like I can go up to a girl and say, hey, by the way, I've got a girlfriend, but I just wanted to come say hi to you guys. They're going to be like super friendly. Or if I say, yeah, I'm gay, right? They're going to be super friendly. Like it's not the same skill set. So it's, yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan.
It was so nuts. So Michael, I think I'm part of Michael's thing. So he gets them late because he has this company he does this thing where it's called Babes in Toyland. He takes him to these fucking things where there's models. So yeah, if the guy's cool, he's going to fuck more girls because they're a part of a social circle, but they're still approaching girls. It's not like you can't just pull shit out. So one of my friends, so the strategy is is that you have to text 10,000, you have to message 10,000 girls on Instagram to get one girl to show up to your party. And I'm like, 10,000 fucking models. You have to find 10,000 fucking models in your city. Like, where do you
without getting kicked out of Mexico?
Yeah, without spam, like it's just such a waste of time, waste of money, waste of resources. Like if you just spent that building skills to be good with women, right? Holy fuck! Not only would you get laid, but you'd have such a great foundation that you can actually use in your life, as opposed to learning skills about how to be a fucking party planner. Because that's all these guys are learning. You're literally told not to practice any cold approach. You're literally told not to sleep with any of these girls. All you're practicing is the skill of messaging 10,000 women and maybe getting that down to 5,000, then maybe getting that down to 2,000, and then maybe getting to girls. You're a party planner. That's what you are. You're a party planner. So it's a great skill. Like at this stage in my game, I need to be a better party planner. Like it's true. Running social circle now is amazing for me. It's great, but it's of course I got those skills. Like you can't do it the other way around.
If there's so many guys that try to learn social circle without building charisma, and like as a coach, if somebody's in the early stages of the game, I don't teach them social circle. I'm like, dude, you're not there yet. You're not there yet. You can't talk to a girl without wanting to constantly fuck her. You can't talk to a girl without actually truly being her friend. You're not in the place you have to do social circle. So we're gonna build you up. You need to get you abundance. Stop being so fucking thirsty all the time. With Michael, he's like, Michael. All right, so all these social circle guys, they try to preach become famous, just become famous, and then you're gonna like get all late all the time. So let's just work on you becoming famous. I'm like, what? That's not applicable to everybody. Not everybody's gonna become famous. If you're an engineer in fucking Colorado, you're not gonna become famous, bro. Like that's not an applicable strategy. It's for a very small percentage. So for me personally, I took this and I thought to myself, okay, cool. Well, how can I actually engineer celebrityism? I've done such things as like hiring bouncers, like my friends. I'll hire my giant friends that wear suits and just, walk me around the club. That was pretty well. So I thought we were famous. So they're flashing flashlights. I told my guys, your job's not to defend me. Your job's to make me look fucking like just famous. So when people approach me, just stop them and look at me, ask me it's okay, and I'll be like this. And then like the girl will come over and say hi to me, or like I'll let like somebody over here to send me. Like I was trying to find strategies that could be applicable to everybody, because being famous is not a good strategy. Being like hitting 10,000 girls on Instagram to get one girl to hang out with you is not an applicable strategy. How the fuck are you gonna do that? Do you know how much energy that is? That's like hours just to get one girl to meet up with you. It's like, unless they have some kind of like algorithm or AI that's doing this on repeat, and not to mention you're gonna burn out your fucking city so fast. Like how many, like what, there's the average city's probably less than 100,000 people. You're gonna get like 10 girls to meet up with you. That doesn't make fucking sense. The math doesn't work. So for me, I like merging all of them together. I found the best strategy is to merge cold approach, social circle. So when I'm out gaming, I'm not just approaching to pick up a girl. I'm approaching to make cool ass alliances with dope ass motherfuckers, like cool guys. They maybe have access to things I don't have. Maybe they're just really cool guys that feed my energy, make me cooler. They put me more in state. Awesome. I need those guys around me. Maybe it's like I talk to a girl. Girls don't like friend zoning me nowadays. But like if I have a client who's like, this girl didn't find me attractive, I'm like, friend zone the bitch. Dude, you'll get laid more by having her as a friend. Like you'll get laid more by having her as a friend. Take her out with you. Put the girl on parade. Hang out with like 20 girls when you go to the club. And how much easier is game when you fucking have a bunch of hot girls on your own?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Like it is like I mean, like social circle can be really, great asset, but it's a bonus game. You need to be able to approach. Like what I used to do back in the days, like I would approach a 10, perfect 10. Okay, like like. Instead of trying to fuck her, I know she has like a 5 or 10 other 10s, equal, plus minus, like on that level. So instead of trying to fuck one, I'll try to fuck her social circle. So what I did, I would approach, let's just befriend myself, like over the time, like invest, maybe like take her out for dinner, but slowly fall into the friend zone. Okay. And then like, when she really likes me, I remember one girl, I took her to London to a boot camp. Okay. I was like, come help me. Like I'm going to, she came back. Oh my God. You know what this guy does? Oh my God. They're approaching, they're this, like, oh, he's like, so she did all attraction to all her girlfriends. All I had to do next week was like, hey, bring your friends to my place. Like, I just moved into like a big place, like, invite them over. So, like, and yes, like, guys, it's not just about the girls, when you're cold approaching, collect quality guys. I had like, at one point, a guy who is like a top doctor, like a two banker guys, like finance, pilot. Like girls were fighting. They were trying to, because I had like every Friday or every second Friday, I had a party at my place. Like girls were trying to break their legs who, how to get invited to eventually, meet these super cool guys who are basically my assets. Like, these top guys, like 4 or 5 of them, they were bringing hot girls.
Yeah, I think there's a difference here. Like if you got a fat girl with like a lot of hot friends, I think it's like a really good strategy. But otherwise, like honestly, like I think you get better pre-selection to the friends if you just fuck your girl under a casual frame really well. Like, so for example, like Alex, my business partner, it was last week, he had a girl over, fucked her really well, and then basically talked her into bringing 2 more friends around and had a threesome with those 2 girls. Now, obviously, like this isn't every single week this happens. Obviously, it's a little bit more rare, but that would be more the angle I want to take, is having like a really good dynamic with the hot girl that you like actually fuck and don't like friend zone or get friend zoned by, and then get intros to the friends. Because this has happened so many times for me where you just set the right casual frames. And in our social circle, right, there's me and 2 other guys. I've been set up by so many girls by that guy that he's fucked. I've set him up with my girls. The girls have set us up with other girls. So yeah, I think it's a good strategy if it's like a girl you're not really into anyway, right? Like some girl, shitty personality or like is unattractive, like friend zone her and go for the friends. But otherwise, like if it's a hottie, like I really encourage people to just, fuck her really well and try get a introduction to the friends. I think it's a good strategy.
Yeah, some of them will close, kind of their girlfriend. Some of them like will open. It all depends on, of course, on your skills and everything. Like, but actually what happened to me, like, I will first like, get all her friends and then her on the end as well. Like, kind of because she's like, why not me? Like, what's going on? Like, so eventually you get them all in a pack anyway. Like, it's just, where do you start, from the back or from the front,
Yeah, I think you probably get like a better perception if you start from the like fuck frame, I guess we can call it, as opposed to like the friend frame. Maybe you get more compliance at first, like just go on the friend zone way. But I definitely find like girls are going to be way more attracted to a guy. Kind of what Denta mentioned before, that like, hey, fuck this girl now, otherwise you never will, and you're going to lose respect. I like that approach a little bit more, where it's like, okay, I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you like exactly what I'm about. I'm going to show you my sexual skills, my dominance, everything like that, and then you're more likely introduced to the friends. I think is like how I say it.
Yeah.
I just think it's hypocrisy to tell people that they don't believe in cold approach, yet when they show up on a coaching session with MLN, which again, I like the guy. I think he's dope. In person, he's sick as all hell. I just think I'm more attacking the ideals behind it, which the guy's dope as fuck. He'll probably listen to this and think this is,
Lost connection.
Am I lagging?
He's out. Yeah, like,
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if
if I knew
you're
better
back. You lost connection there for a few seconds.
Oh shit, my bad. Actually, yeah, let me.
Last thing we heard was like MLM, something like,
Okay. So
who is MLM? Who is that?
Michael. I don't want to throw him under the bus too much because
it's a guy Michael Sartain. So he's known for essentially running like social circle mentoring / coaching. Apparently he used to be like a pickup coach back in the day or some shit like that. But so yeah, his big marketing thing is he's going to teach you to get really good with women through networking, which I agree does for some guys. And I had a recent debate with him on Playing with Fire, like Alex that was just on here. But it's as I kind of mentioned in the debate and kind of what we spoke about here, I think it's pointless for guys that have no idea with women, right? And at that point, you're just like selling validation. You're just selling like an Instagram photo with hot girls that you spent like fucking months planning a party for.
For the right guy, I'll teach social circle. If a guy needs social circle, I'll teach him it. But I think you need a flexible strategy for every client. And trying to teach a one size fits all coaching strategy is stupid as a coach. I think that the boy's been fucking killing it forever. Like Michael's been so killing it. And when you're somebody so if you're a doctor, you suffer what's called what's the bias called? It's like you're a doctor. So now you think you understand physics, or you're a doctor. And now you think you understand like LeBron James fucking dunking on Allen Iverson. You don't understand it. That's outside your wheelhouse. And I think that he's at a stage in his coaching where it's like the one size fits all stage. I used to go through it too, where I'm like, only pickup works. It's like everybody needs something different. Nobody's like everybody like if you can I can take like a so if I were to give somebody like a sweatshirt, for some people that sweatshirt would fit, but for most it'd be too small or too big. And it's he needs a more flexible strategy, and saying that cold approach doesn't work, dude, fuck yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Yes, it does. Yeah, cold approach is essential to getting good at this shit. And yeah, to be fair, I think actually even the guys that are in the MLM program that have gotten results from his social circle stuff would benefit even further from also merging it with cold approach and learning how to be more charismatic. How the fuck does not all right, becoming more charismatic obviously is going to get you better results with women. Like we can all agree on that.
Yeah, but it doesn't hit his marketing pain points. If he says you also need cold approach, then he can't say, hey guys, you never have to feel rejected ever again. You never have to learn to speak to girls. You never have to display your value. You just sit back. Like he can't do that then, right? It's like his marketing is fucked. And I think like, look, I don't know the guy that well, but it seems like to me, he's putting marketing above everything else because I don't think he's that stupid. I don't think he actually believes what he's saying that, and these are my words, not yours, Denton. I don't think he actually believes that cold approach is like 1% or it doesn't matter. It sounds like from what students have told me is that like he actually teaches it all the time on the boot camps. But it's like a bad marketing play if you want to say, hey, this is what you don't need, and by the way, you need it, right? So to me, it's like a marketing order he's taking, which is a good business move. I respect it, but it's just like, it's not what I would do or say.
Yeah, I just think it's like, I don't think I honestly think what's going on is that he's all right. We all self-lie, even smart people. And I think smart people lie to themselves better than most because you can formulate better lies. You have more shit to work with. And I think he's just done, he's not, I've heard some wild stuff, and I think he's honestly, again, I think he's cool. I'm gonna see him again. I think he's been cool with me. So I feel bad even saying this stuff. It's just I don't want people listening to stuff to think that they don't need to go out and do that because it's so seductive to think that you don't have to work hard to get good with girls. Yes, you do, because it's competitive. We're all trying to get women. Everybody's trying to get women, and that's stupid. It's stupid to think that by you taking the easy route that somehow that it's the effort, it's the intelligent effort that gets you to that place that's going to outcompete those other guys. Because every person, like the majority of guys other than gay guys on planet Earth, even some gay guys want women. So yes, it's competitive, and the women are the ones that are choosing. And if you think you're going to get there through some like easy route, if the guy's teaching it to you, it's bullshit. I think that adding the quality plus quantity of effort is going to make the route easier. Knowing how to get there, knowing how to take intelligent, smart effort, such as the things you guys mentioned, like writing notes and doing like exercise. Yes, that's the quality of effort. And a lot of guys are missing out on it. But to me, his strategies, it's definitely a hardcore marketing strategy. And the boy's making a lot of fucking money doing this. So good for him. I mean, his own personal life's like crushing it. And there are some guys getting great results from the program, but I mean, they could do better. Saying that cold approach doesn't work while he's also having guys on program cold approaching it is a little disingenuous, but I think he's self-lying about it a little bit. I think he's doing a little self-lying. I don't think Michael would do that on purpose. I think he's self-lying a touch, or he just doesn't understand the topic enough to where he's been winning so many different fields that he just doesn't know any better. He thinks he knows, but he doesn't.
I think I don't know. I think he knows what he's doing. I think it's a marketing play. I think he's trying to like make some money off coaching, which is, I don't know if that's what you prioritize. Like, I'm not going to hate you for it, but personally, like I just prioritize like student performance, let's say. So yeah, we're all going to market a little bit. But yeah, to that extent, I kind of disagree. But I'm curious what Bad Boy thinks. Like, did you do any social circle game? Like, what are your thoughts on it?
I mean, I did, but it's like, all complementary. It all started with with cold approaches, kind of like you meet the girls out there and then, you bring them back home, this way or that way. So I think it's good, but I don't think you can better yourself in social circle.
Okay.
Because what club gives you is ultimate, basically, test platform. You go there, you try this, you try to be dominant. They give you, okay, no, this is wrong. Okay, you're creepy. You find a way to be sexual, to be dominant, to be interesting, to be funny. You learn how to tell jokes. You learn how to storytell. You learn so many skills that kind of that amount of volume numbers you're not gonna have in a social circle. And it's more fragile. You don't want to be doing stupid dumb mistakes in front of your friends, in front of the whole setup, you know. So it's a really dumb way to, you know, it's like, you know, you don't go to the Wimbledon to practice to play, you know, tennis. You know, you come there, you know, trained and, you know, ready to play the match, you know, to win the tournament. You know, so same thing here, kind of bringing the guy who is shy, who is introvert, and set him up in a nice kind of social circle scenario where he can get laid, like, you know, while actually I'm just about to coach one guy, like, you know, kind of really top level guy in Europe, like, you know, he's like among those kind of new jet set guys, like, you know, Ibiza and, you know, kind of these kind of places now. I'm not sure, you guys, basically now there's a whole new level of insanity on top level 9s and 10s. They're flying around, like, you know, Madrid, like Mallorca and around, like, you know, kind of these kind of top spots in Europe. So it's very kind of, it's I would say small number of the guys they're running, like, you know, kind of, so, I mean, it's mainstream, like, you know, just kind of rich guys inviting girls, private jets, you know, putting them in a house, partying with them, and then trying to get laid. It's kind of, you know, social circle, you know, like on steroids, basically on money. And they, you know, they still can't get laid. Why? Because, you know, they don't know how. You know, like, you know, because, you know, if in the room there are like 10 millionaires, you know, you know, kind of, you still need to have something. You need personality. You need, like, be able to talk, to demonstrate, you know, to do stuff. You know, even just being, yes, you know, girls will like you more because you are being, you know, you're invited there and you're part of that gang, you know, kind of that crowd, like, you know, that's kind of top 1% of, you know, of the continent, like, you know, yes, but you still, there are 10 other guys there. So unless you are alone in a room with 25 girls, yes, then maybe you probably will get laid somehow. Even I know the cases when this doesn't happen as well, like, you know. So you still, that's why I would say, you know, cold approach is super complementary to the whole thing. First, to bring the girls, to meet and bring the girls, and as well to train your personality, to develop your personality, to, you know, kind of, it's like when you approach a hot girl, like in a nightclub, everything, basically the worst from you comes out. Everything what you didn't work on yourself comes out. You didn't took a shower. You eat, you know, in a bed. You dress bad. You don't, you know, you didn't do a haircut. You didn't buy new shoes. All the worst, it comes out. And that's the beauty of cold approach. They help you better yourself. It's an ultimate self-development for a man.
Dude, I've said that so much. I actually agree. Burns away the fat. If you're going to get shoved in your face constantly, the good thing about cold approach is that girls are going to shove it in your face constantly. It's why everybody tries to rationalize not doing cold approach, because it hurts, but so does working out. That rejection is actually really good for you in a roundabout way, because it's telling you you're fucking up. If you're fucking,
it's all information.
Yeah. But I think people sometimes, like, it's so easy and so seductive to just think it's something outside of your control because it's an easier answer than to think that there's something that you don't understand about the situation. And the Dunning-Kruger effect, when you know nothing about something, you think you understand everything. It must be because I'm ugly, or because I'm short, or because I'm like Indian, or because I'm this. And it's like, no, you suck. Sorry, but you're not good at this. And obviously, because you just started. You're new at this. Be patient. Be patient. It takes a long time to get good at game. And you're just doing, like, honestly, I feel like with a lot of guys when they first start game, because this is how it was for me. I was so bad with girls that, I was so bad with girls that when I first got into this, I was just like, I felt that the only way the cold approach was going to work was that I had to approach enough girls to get them into me. I got lucky because I was so desperate to get good at this. And eventually I peaked over that peak, and girls started liking me. I started realizing that there's something that I could control in myself that made girls like me. It was a lot about energy. It's a lot about, you know, the stuff you're talking about, everybody in the group chat. It's like, it's blind faith. It's a little bit of a religion. Anyways, I think our boy wants to go to a new topic.
Alrighty, let's actually wrap up. Great having you guys here. Thanks for coming. Guys watching, like the video, comment. Especially if you have any questions for the guys here, or let me also go to gallery view so now you can see all of us that are still here. Also comment.
Guys, we need comments,
questions?
please.
Yeah.
Like, you know, all the questions you had, write them down here for the next session. We're gonna go here Next time we're gonna do this and get the question. So all the questions you have on your mind right now about this, what you heard in the last 2 hours, please put them in the comments right now when they're still in your head. Please send them there, and we're gonna review them and take them for the next one, because you see, we need questions. Because our friend here, he sucks with this, so please help him.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Just to clarify, I had quite a few questions, but this is the first time where there were 7 of us, 7 dating coaches. I think it has been genuinely a very long time since something like this has actually happened. Like, yeah, I kind of live under a rock anyway, so maybe, I don't know, maybe there is, but the last case I remember is like years ago when RSD was a thing. They had every instructor on the stage and Michael Sartain, and that was like 2015 or a little bit after that, maybe. This is unique. This is the first one I have done. There were 7 of us, so absolutely make this opportunity right fucking now to drop a comment. Any question you have for the next panel, would love to have you guys back. This has been amazing. Again, this is the first attempt at doing something like this for me, so there we go. It's not that I ran out of questions. It's just the fact that also I have to figure out, with Justin and Alex gone, for example, I know that Alex specializes in messaging, so I'm saving some of those questions for when we get him again, for example. But yeah, Anyway, do you think it would be funny to just take a screenshot of Marcus and just say, I interviewed Julian Blanc? I don't think it would work, though, because he's not like a fucking hipster.
You think I look like Julian? Is that
the only thing is that you're not dressed like a rainbow hipster. That's the only thing. So I don't think
you gotta let me know next time. I'll dress up like a rainbow hipster. But no, I appreciate having you on, man. It's good work to get everyone together and organizing. I know it's tough, so appreciate it. And I had a good time, and I'll catch you guys next time. We're gonna bounce.
Thanks for coming.
All right, cheers, man.
Any final comments from you guys?
Honestly, I'll throw something out there. I just, anybody's watching this thing, if you guys are in some headspace where you guys can improve in this, yes, you can, but you have to take action. Obviously, if you're not doing something different, you're not thinking intelligently, you're not going to get any fucking better. Dude, this shit's not supposed to be easy. You're supposed to become a man. It's supposed to be, it grills you. The same way that you make a sword sharp or a sword sharper, you can't make a sword, you can't build that fine edge without melting it down, rebuilding it, folding it back, melting it again. You have to go through pain to get good at this. I'm sorry. Yes, you can make it easier through coaching and through intelligent effort, but you have to go through this. You have to actually make it. It's supposed to be hard. If it wasn't hard, then everybody would be good at this, and then the bar would be raised even higher, and then they'd be equally as hard. There's no magic pill. Any coach is trying to sell you a magic pill, the guy's full of shit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree, and as well, let me put that. I mean, it's all about working on yourself, bettering yourself, and becoming that attractive guy. The closer you are to that attractive guy, the easier for you it's going to be to get a date, to get girls, because they want something. Like, when you're selling them something that they don't want, they're not attractive, they're attracted to, of course, like, they're not going to go, they're not going to run, after that guy. Like, so, look at yourself, look at what needs to be changed, and work on that. It is hard, like as it's like, as we're all saying, it's a work. We all have done this work. I went from a wheelchairs to being able to date, like, the hottest girls on the planet, or to Miss Croatia, and I don't know what, like, my first club experience was in wheelchairs, So I went from being not like, not attractive, but like, kind of, they were not even thinking about talking with me. Like, why the fuck is this guy there at all? And I learned how I can actually control the attraction, like to stand up from the wheelchairs and go there and talk with a girl and change her mind so she actually likes me. And if that is possible, any other guy can do it as well.
Are you talking about, you're not talking about looks, right?
Yeah, personality.
You're talking about looks? Oh, wait, you're talking about looks. You're saying that looks Like if you're not attractive, people won't like you.
Just
I mean,
clarify.
attractive as personality, as energy, attractive man.
Okay, that makes sense.
I think it's physically attractive.
I think some of the guys will like listen to that and say, "Oh, I'm not physically attractive, and I can't get girls."
Of course, I don't think any of the coaches here are in the department of being physically attractive, So, yeah, it's we're all selling something else here, And I don't think I was the first one who gave up from competing into the physical looks market.
If all you had to offer was what you look like, then what advice can you give anyway? Hey,
sorry, one more time.
If let's say we are dating coaches, so we do personality and things like that. So imagine if if we were looks coaches, for example, we looked perfect. What advice can we even give in the first place? It's yes, try this product, use my affiliate.
There's a lot of things you can do. Like you can wear, okay, if looks were that big a deal, I would coach that, to be fair. I coach strictly what's going to get my client from point A to point B as quickly as possible. If it was looks, I would coach that. It's like there's a lot of things you could do. You wear men's makeup that you can't see. You wear contact lenses. You can change your fashion, work out. You can work on your skin. You can get a tan. You can
workout, gym, diet. Yeah, sure, there's lots of stuff.
I'm thinking in terms of
teeth, get braces.
We just
work on your teeth, strengthen your jaw.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I think in terms of we just had a 2-hour discussion about a lot of things that can be done. And I don't think anyone could pull together 7 coaches who specialize in what you should look like, who can talk for 2 hours. So it's it's not as rich in terms of advice as something like what we have just presented. So I don't know. That's just me vaguely explaining, but let's just leave it there. Final announcement for the guys watching. I created the AI Wingman for online dating. Behind me is the 2nd edition plans for the book, The Message Game. Dan here is actually helping me proofread, so glad to have him on board. And I look like a fucking hobo. I normally do. But I have been going 28 hours straight or longer, nonstop, because last night I was on Just Pearly Things YouTube channel, nearly 2 million subscribers. And the funny thing is, near the end of the video, we had this message exchange demonstration, and I was able to effectively get her date idea in 1 message and her phone number in 2. So that was pretty crazy, just to show how powerful the book is in MGAI. So the link is in the description. Check that out. And thanks for watching. Make sure you drop comments what you would love me to ask next time. Thanks.